yellow, blue, yellow, blue. We representing blue, yellow, blue, yellow, blue, yellow, blue.
You hear the rhythm of the talk, see people jumping up, them down behind the truck and the big back up on top. We come here to be free, so jam in unity and let the whole world see that we proud of we country. Sweet music playing and we behaving like there is no tomorrow. This life vibrating, the mood is creating enough to wash away sorrow. This is one big jam, reflecting in love and giving praise to God above for bringing us here another year. We celebrating the culture.
If you're proud to be a nation, put for your flags up, put for your flags up. And if you represent the nation, let me see flags up, let me see flags up. We representing blue, yellow, blue, yellow, blue, yellow, blue. We representing blue, yellow, blue, yellow, blue, yellow, blue.
So long, this nation is we pride, together unified, 166 squared and one smile wide. They just dig up yourself, if you want no one else. Show love and raise your colors. Sweet music playing and we behaving like there is no tomorrow. This life we treasure, pictures forever. Lovely Barbados, my home. Digging up my land, Barbados, my home. No matter wherever I roam, we industry and we pride. Take it worldwide, never forget we culture.
If you're proud to be a nation, put for your flags up, put for your flags up. And if you represent the nation, let me see flags up, let me see flags up. We represent the blue, yellow, blue, yellow, blue, yellow, blue. We represent the blue, yellow, blue, yellow, blue, yellow, blue. Raise your hand, raise your hand, raise your hand, raise your hand. Oh, yo. Raise your hand, raise your hand, raise your hand, raise your hand. Barbados! Barbados! If you're proud to be a Bajan, let me see flags up. I have mine up. Let me see flags up, guys. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Marcia Weekes, and you are watching the Marcia Weekes Show. We are coming to you live from beautiful, beautiful Barbados, and I have in my hand the beautiful flag of Barbados that we are so very, very proud of. And you just heard the national anthem of Barbados, and you might be wondering, why are you so excited? Is you're watching for the first time, wonder, the whole of Barbados is that excited? Yes. yes, it's like we have won a race, or we did well at the Olympics, or we did something really, really, really great. And can anybody tell me why we are so happy tonight? Monica Ince, good evening. I'm not saying what it is. I want you to say what it is. Judy Jills, good evening, Judy. Judy Rock, oh my goodness, my wonderful family, good evening. Jefferson Sobers, Vernon Garnes, Teroni Hall. By the time I get to the bottom, I need you to be able to tell exactly why we are so excited this evening. Oh my goodness, listen, you proud to be a Bajan tonight? Oh my Lord. Queen D, Cedric Strong, Matthew B. Take a bow, Matthew B. Carol. Oh my Lord. Oh my goodness. Queen D says, I've liked and shared. You should. We have an amazing show for you lined up tonight. I tell you. Marva Hunt, good night. Joy and Faith, good night. Marcia, good night. Lori, Bob. Hi, Lori. Patricia Green, good night. Marva Brown. Diana Husbands. Jacqueline. Oh my Lord. You are so faithful. Sir Alfred from Brooklyn. Did you go to see the Prime Minister when she was there? Hi, Joyanne, Cameron Harding, Marcia Miller, Bonnie Stringer, Cameron Holland, Lucinda. She's liked and shared because Lucinda knows what time of day this is. Lucinda knows that what Lucinda has to do. Right, Lucinda? Yes. Another Marcia again. Sharon Innes, how are you doing? Owen Hines, how are you? Oh my goodness. Oh, did I call Sam Igbo? Yes, Sam Igbo. Sam Igbo says a government without vision walk back. Not surprised. So he's getting warm. Beverly. Hi, Beverly Mallon and Izzy. Oh my goodness. You see, we have to stop and rejoice, Monica. We have to stop and rejoice, Mavis and Sandra. We have to stop, Teroni. We have to rejoice. You can't just keep working. Sometimes we have to stop and we have to rejoice, right? Right, Marva? Yes. Bill on pause. Come to the front of the class, Mavis. So we have been advocating. We have been advocating, Mavis and Sir Dale. Hi, Sir Dale. We have been advocating the loyal opposition. We have been advocating about the tourism accommodation bill, where we believe that the government was really oppressing the Airbnb operators. This is like a form of economic oppression when they were being asked to pay this large sum of money for license of $250,000. You're talking about $250,000. And then I learned through DLP TV last night that guess what? You're paying another $100,000 if you did not display it. Did you hear Mr. Thorne said that on DLP TV last night? He said, what? If you didn't display
the license, you could face up to $100,000 in fine or jail time. And let me tell you, man, let me tell you, listen, and all of us together, and that's what I love about this victory, and that's why we played that song at the beginning. It says, if you're proud to be a Bajan, let me see flags up. You know what? Because when I looked online, I saw people who normally advocate for the government. They were against this bill. I saw the Chase files. I know I call him the Rangate man, but what's his name again? Can somebody tell me his right, what's his right name? Because you know people get upset with these things. Yes, Dave? Dunksman. Thank you, Dave. Dunksman. I saw Stephanie. I saw Patrick King. All of these people were pushing against this bill, right? But where did it start? It started in Parliament. It started when that bill was brought to Parliament, to the lower house. And that's why we're so happy that we have somebody by the name of Ralph Thorne in Parliament. Come on, give Mr. Thorne a hand. Regardless of where you fall, whether you're watching your BLP, your DLP, you're from another party, give Mr. Thorne a hand, because the first person that raised the alarm was Ralph Thorne, the leader of the opposition, as he should. And he raised that, right? And that got some media stuff. Then people say, oh, something is wrong. They're trying to do something. Because if he wasn't there, that bill would have gone right through all of them. It would have gone right through. And then, we watch what's happening in the lower house. You all better start watching, because that's where the action is. That's where they're bringing the fight. So that when you see Mr. Thorne says something, you go and check it. So guess what? You know what we did on this show. After the Honorable Ralph Thorne went through it and dissected it, thank you, Mr. Thorne, then we went now and got the bill. And we said, hold a minute here. So this is him here. We can't show it all tonight because we have what we think. But this is Mr. Thorne here at it while you were at work. And we then got hold of the bill and started to tear it apart on the show. You know that. And we had our pen and pencils and our notebook, and we were going through it. And we saw a petition. So a group of people did, and this petition was so well done. Come on, give them a hand. I don't know who did it, but it's a Bajan that did it, and it don't matter. We're gonna pick them up tonight. And as later on, I then saw the social media influencers started. I saw Stephanie Chase. I saw Dunksman. I saw a big thing from Patrick King. I saw I believe Lumumba. Lumumba did something as well. Matthew B. I can't forget my Matthew B. did something. Stephanie. I'm telling you, people were just on it. Abraham Millington as well. Listen to me. This is a group effort. This is a nation effort. And we must understand it as that. And so tonight, I want us to understand what happens when we lose our fear. Can you imagine if Mr. Thorne had said when he went in there, I'm just tired, I can't be bothered, I can't take the attacks. I'm afraid of the attacks because they attack him in there. When he's in there fighting on our behalf, they attack him. They call him all kind of names. They try to disturb him, all kinds of things. What if he had fear? What if Mr. Thorne had fear? What would have happened? Huh? What if the people who did the petition said, well, I am afraid, because when you're doing the petition, you have to put your name on the petition. What if that particular person who was to put the name on the petition got scared and didn't want to put their name on the petition? You see what happened when we lose our fear? Them have to haul and pull up. Haul and pull up. Huh? Them have to wheel and come again. That is what happens when we lose our fear, Barbados. We're talking about the power of one. The power of one. United. Unity. Unity. They came united against us, all 28 of them. Huh? Led by the Prime Minister. Because she had to have been in cabinet. They had to have cabinet meeting. Led by PM Mottley, they came up against Barbados, and Barbados lost their fear, came up against them, and bam, they dropped down, they mash up. Have to go back, halt. That's why we exist on here, the loyal opposition. That's why we exist, folks. I see my first guest need to put on his devices. Need to get his devices on. Oh my goodness. And then they want to call us passive. Huh? Then they want to call us passive. Huh? You realize that? They want to call us passive. They said Bajan's passive. Passivity, was this passivity? Passivity would be for Mr. Thorne to say, I can't do anything. It's just me. I am the only person in there coming up against Mia Mottley and the rest. Right? Mia Mottley and her 28. I can't do anything. No. He stood up. The person who did the petition stood up. Yeah? All of these other people, they stood up. Matthew B., Dunksman, all of them, they stood up. When we lose our fear, what happened? They lose their power. They lose their power. They went ahead and passed it. And this is why I'm saying to us Barbadians that when you give them the 30 seat, if Mr. Thorne was not in there, it would have gone right through. You would not have any opposition senators. You would have nothing. Pata. And that's why we exist. We're called the loyal opposition. Loyal to who? Barbados. That name was given by you, the viewers, after we kept singing the national anthem. And we sang, loyal sons and daughters all. And somebody in the comment section says, we are the loyal opposition. I remember it. And I was saying, why are they putting a name on the people? Why are we doing this? I hope they're not trying to form a party because I'm not interested in form a party. And I was coming on and said, listen, I'm not forming any party. And I'm still not forming any party. We're a pressure group. Thanks to Glyde Murray, who came on and identified who we were. Glyde Murray came on and said, you know who you are? You're a pressure group. And we said, yes. This is so organic on the show. And I want to thank all of you who posted, all of you who reposted. And I tell you, let me tell you, this country, they were afraid of those marches because they knew that we were going to sound it out so loud on Saturday. They didn't want us to get the satisfaction. I saw Barbados today was calling me yesterday early afternoon, and I was busy. Let's put it like that, right? Let's put it like that. Folks, tag team, relay is what happened here. The power of one Barbados. One Barbados. Everybody write one Barbados down there. If you're a BLP, write one Barbados. If you're a DLP, because the BLP people who are BLP, they were upset as well because they're renting out their homes. They were upset too. Yeah. I want everybody to write one Barbados. You know, Dave Greenwich, this is why we exist here, Dave Greenwich, and why they love to say that I am DLP, right? Why would a rational people vote for a one-party state? Why would a rational people vote for one party state? Anybody who said 30, love in your skin again, something is wrong. Trust me. They're losing consciousness. Huh? Losing consciousness. Why would somebody want a one-party state? Huh? And Dave Greenwich asking it. We don't understand what real democracy is. You know what they said? This is what that minister said. He says, we are now going to consult with the people. Say, I never knew, say, if we consult before. Huh? The bill concern you? Huh? The bill will have to affect the people of Barbados. You never know. Huh? Now, all of a sudden, you get it in your thick head that you needed to consult. Let me tell you something. This government, they were hoping that it could have slide through. They would give anything for Mr. Thorne not to show up there on a Tuesday. But the devil is a liar. We praying for him and he will be strong and turn up there and turn up the heat on them. You understand me? Because a lot of us, we don't have the time to read the bill ahead of time. But when he goes through it, he and his team, when they go through it, then we are able to understand it. You hear what I tell you? I'm not here trying to push any DLP. What am I trying to say to you guys? I'm not trying to put, don't believe the lies that they're telling you. Do you know why I'm doing this? And why you will see this on the screen right now? Because in Jamaica, I showed you on this here. In Jamaica, where they do not have a situation like Barbados, they had 14 members of parliament in the opposition. When a bill like this came for less, it was way less in terms of the licensing. Okay, I think my guest is there waiting for my guest to put on his camera. So I know that he's ready. Device is not connected. Right? When that bill was brought to Parliament with the 14 of them in the People's National Party, oh, they kicked up a fuss. I watched the debate. Now you're having real debate. The media picked up on it in Jamaica. The people then picked up on it in Jamaica. And they had to shelve it. What am I trying to say to us? It's not healthy to be pushing a one-party state. The Prime Minister says we don't need an opposition. You heard her say that. You heard her say that when the last election, because they want to push through bills like these. Can you imagine we had even 12 people in there from the opposition? I want you to understand, some of you get it in your thick head. I really don't, I'm not trying to win an election here. Do you understand? My mission here is not trying to win an election. I want you to get that, because a lot of you don't understand that. And the truth of the matter is, whoever wins. What I am looking for is proper debate concerning these kinds of legislation that's going through in Parliament. We need to have a balance in Parliament. The current situation does not lend to democracy. And that's why we on the outside have to work so hard. Do you understand? That's why we have to work so hard. So we have to strengthen those parties that are not present. We cannot come on here. The government have so many, oh my goodness, they control all of the other stations. It's been alleged that they're trying to even fire somebody now, one of these stations, because they sang about somebody in the government that person is upset. So why would we, nobody's paying us. Why would we use the broadcast to promote the government? That makes sense? That doesn't make any sense. Why would we do that? You see what I mean? That's why we exist. We are Emma. We educate, we motivate, we mobilize, we agitate. We came on here and we say we don't care who did the petition. Up to now, I don't know. It doesn't have to be us. Once it's done, and we came on and we said this number is too small. By the morning I got up, I went back and I checked, was 1,000. From 600 to 1,000 overnight. Yes? So I want to say, Barbados, this one is yours. This one is yours. Right? This one is yours, Barbados. Let me read your comments. I'm waiting. I don't know. Dave, please check the chat. My guest, Quincy Jones, seemed to be having a problem getting on. He's supposed to be on right now. If you check the private chat, thank you so very much. So let me read some of your comments because, you know, I'm on here talking and getting excited. I can't leave out your comments. I can't leave out the comments. So let me just read your comments, some of your comments here. I hope he's ready now. I'm going to see if Dave can reach him for me. To see if Dave, if you can reach him for me. Yes. Let's see. We have right. Okay. Hi, good night, Quincy. Let me see if he can hear me. Good night, Quincy. Okay, can you open your camera? Ah, you're having a problem with your camera. Okay, I see what's going on. Okay. Let me see if Dave, can you give him a call, please? See if you can help him. You would have to do it on my phone. Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna wait on Quincy to get his camera on. Just hang on a bit. Give him some time there. Kim Tay says a lot of nuisance bills they bring into Parliament. These are distractions. Kim Tay, they're a bit more than distractions. It's not just distractions because I know sometimes we like to say, but these are real bills. And if they went through, what would have happened is that there are people in Barbados who would have suffered tremendously. Okay, so they are not just distractions. People said the cybercrime bill was a distraction. The reality is that it might not affect everybody, but the truth of the matter is that it would affect the people that it would affect, lots of people. Right, so I don't really see it so much as a distraction. It's a real thing, unless I'm misunderstanding you there, right? Marva says, congratulations to the loyal opposition and all other people who spoke out against the bill. Yes, it's a lot of people. And I named them earlier, so that all we did is together as a group. Hugh Howard said BLP has a new name. It's now called the Walk Back Government. Edwin Pilgrim says the loyal opposition is piling under pressure with the help of our Heavenly Father. Yes. Yes, it is true. It is true. Yes, Edwin, I love that. I love that. Yes. Marva says the leader of the opposition has continued to do an excellent job in Parliament. Yes, he has. It is true. Yes. Yes. Let me want to read some more of your comments. Yes. Yes, Patricia Green. Yes, you said that's what I like, Marcia. Beijing together, not fighting among ourselves or for party. Everybody, can we just write in the comment section the word one and Barbados? One Barbados. Or if you want to use the one and the flag, the word one and the flag. Or you could do the letter one and the flag. One Barbados, however you want to spell it out. One Barbados, number one and the flag, or the word one and the flag. Do that for me, please. Patricia, you need to come to the front of the class. That's what I'm talking about. Beijing together, not fighting among themselves. The power of one. That's what happened. That's what happened. Yeah. Ian Gooding Edgell. That's the tourism minister, right, Adrian? He did not do so well on brass tacks either, no. And did I bigged up, I made sure I mentioned David Ellis and brass tacks this morning when I did my live this morning, but I did not speak about traditional media. And oftentimes we come on and we say on this show, what do we say? We say they're not supporting the people. They are a voice of the government on this particular issue. I must say that brass tacks did a great job. You have to give it to them. Ellis for sure. David Ellis for sure. Okay. There might be others, and I want to be fair, but I didn't hear the others. You see? So I will talk about David Ellis if there were other commentators or presenters that were, educating the people about the bill, etc. And if I've forgotten them, please put the notice, put a message in the comment section. Barbados today wrote on it. They were, at least not that they wrote on it, but they accepted articles and published them. And I thought that was good. And so the nation as well. So, of course, CBC. But yes, Michelle, Beijing stood together. And so I like to speak the truth on the show. And whether it is people that curse me, even today, people online telling me, go back to Jamaica, don't call them my Beijing people. If I don't call you my Beijing people, what I'm going to call you? They don't even want me to call you my Beijing people, but I love them. I don't have any problems. They could curse all they want. They're lucky. They can't be a citizen. They can't take that from me. They're lucky. Hey. Abe says, oppressing the masses. Somebody says he's not afraid, neither are we. No. Somebody said they heard Kirk Humphrey. Yeah, I heard he was on brass tacks. I don't I don't know. I don't know. I don't listen to these. I didn't listen today. fear makes you lose power. Taroni, you are so on the money with that. Fear will make you lose power. You become powerless when you are fearful. Yeah? Yeah? Kim Tay said the cart before the horse government. The wheel and come again government. The haul and pull up government is all his name. Yeah? Let me see the one Barbados. One Barbados. If you believe in one Barbados, let me see it. One Barbados. Only one person believe in one Barbados. One Barbados. Yes, it was discussed in workspaces, because that was one of the things that we said to people: write down the information and go and tell the person at your job. Thank you, Vihoy. So all of you who went and talked to your co-workers, that's how we do it. That's how you do it. One Barbados. One Barbados. Yes, David Greenwich. One Barbados. That's it. Yes. 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 And I thought we needed to take stock here and to see what is going on. This is the way forward, Barbados. And now that I'm still waiting on Mr. Quincy Jones to join. And let me say to you that now that we have a show in the door, now that the door, because remember, we've been pushing at this door, we've been pushing at the door. And whereas it was open just a little bit like this, it's going further and further. And I say, Barbados, lay your whole body on it and push it down. Lay your whole body on it and push it down and go in. Go in. Go in and demand the integrity in public life. Listen, if we get serious in here, if we get serious in here, there's no election without the integrity in public life. You are not going back in there without the integrity and public life as a law. How many of you agree with me? How many of you agree with me? There should be no election unless we have the integrity in public life. There should be no election without our constitution. These are serious things, There are three particular things we must have before election. The Freedom of Information Act, integrity in public life, and our Republican Constitution. Why would we subject ourselves to go into an election again without these things? You agree with me? Why should we subject ourselves to go into what? Why would we do that? The more I think about it, the more annoyed I get. Why would we even do that without a constitution? I see Quincy Jones now. We couldn't do that without a why you're going to tell me you're going to allow them to call an election and we don't have a constitution? We don't have the integrity in public life as a law yet? And I'm hearing from inside saying that, Marcia, they don't plan to do it. They don't plan to do it. Not on our watch. They have to do it. We elected them. We are the electors. Michelle says it's been 2,867 days since the BLP made day one. the Integrity Bill declaration in the newspaper 2,867 days. They take us an idiot. We have not seen it yet. No. Let me tell you something. This is a serious business. It can't happen in here. Those of you who are listening, go tell the government. We want the integrity in public life. Law. We want our constitution. Somebody can turn republic for so long and don't have any constitution. It's very disturbing, Sirleen. We have to come back to this later in the show. We have to come back later to this in the show. But this is not, this cannot happen, people. The almost 800 of you listening, it doesn't make sense. And we should never let it happen in Barbados. Never. Well, let me welcome Mr. Quincy Jones. Oh, boy, I tell you. Oh, goodness. He's right here with us. Quincy Jones, welcome.
Good night to you and good night to the entire Barbados.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I know you had a struggle coming on, but we're so happy to see you this evening.
Thank you very much.
And, you know, I remembered when you gave your speech at the DLP press conference when you accepted the candidacy. And you will tell us where, because I'm always getting mixed up with all these different constituencies. And it was such a beautiful speech, sir. I must commend you on that. What's the name of your constituency?
It is Christchurch East Central.
Let me write that down because it's too much for me. I'm going to get it. The Christchurch East Central. East Central. Okay. What are some of the communities involved there?
Okay, so in Christchurch East Central, you have areas such as Kingsland, the entire Kingsland.
Oh, wow, that's a big area.
Big area. We have Lodge Road, we have Wharton, we have Newton, we have Durance, we have Palm Grove, we have St. David's, we have South Ridge.
Wow.
We have Southview, Regency Park, Sheraton Park, Woo! Adams Castle, Vauxhall, Sargents, and ending out by the gymnasium.
By the gymnasium. You see how you can rattle them out of your head? You're something else.
Yeah. Yes.
You memorize these?
No, I can't memorize it. I'm part of the community, so I know all the areas.
Okay, so you live there.
I don't live in the constituency, but I have been in the constituency for over the years since 2008, working with Ronald Jones. So working with him from since 2008, I've gotten acquaintance with all the gaps, all the issues, all the neighborhoods. It has been a part of my journey of saying that this is our family because I have grew up in there and they have helped mold me. I went to school at the Dighton Griffith School just across the road where I was the head boy. I went to a nursery school in that area. So I'm bred and born in there now.
So they know you. They know you. So you're no stranger to the community.
No, please.
And you know, I want to ask you a question that just crossed my mind here as we're. What is good representation for you? Because we we see bright people like yourself. You know, we would have seen some of them in the BLP when they looked bright, and they like yourself. I know you're a bright young man, and they go and people vote for them, and when they get in, there's no representation. What's good representation to Quincy Jones?
Okay. For me, I think good representation is when the person just want to see you. They want to see that you're doing something for the community, that you are not just talking it, you are actually providing some answers and some actions. I know that persons in the community knows that you can't do it all, but they just want you trying. They just want to see that you have at least listened to them, or over a call that you'll have called back simple things like that to me represents true representation. And that is why people try to, we can separate the politics from the politics. Because at the end of the day, representation is about being there for persons, because you're serving the people. You're not there for yourselves. You're there because that vote or those votes that you have won or did not win, you're here to make sure that the people is first. And if you are not interested in serving the people or being there for the people, then you should step out the pot or step out the game, because it is a long-term process where you are not just representing that person on the day of the election, but you're representing that person for the next 4 to 5 years of your life. You're giving half your life to the people of Barbados, letting them know that I'm here for you. And you have to be attending the churches. You have to be attending the funerals. You even have to say hello to the happy birthdays in your constituency. Go and deal with issues such as roads. Go and deal with issues such as the seniors that I was dealing with. Go and deal with give back programs, help out the schools. So it's a long-term process that deals with serving the people. And if we do not want to serve the people, then we should not participate in politics. It is about dealing with how much you can give with the goodness of your heart, and not by making so much promises, but showing that each little drop of water adds to a cup. And that is my favorite phrase, because once we can help each other or can tell persons, here's where you can go to get your license, or here's where you can go and get your ID. Some persons just don't need, they just need guidance. And I think that that is, to me, is what true representation is about.
So what about the person who is watching you, like the way I'm watching you right now? And you sound really good. But what happens, and somebody watching, I said, but Quincy, yeah, but we might vote you, and you're doing so well now because I saw you in the papers and on the social media. I see you are even putting up lights in the community, which you're going to tell me about later. You are a host. You're very strong, doing a lot of work at the moment in Christchurch, East Central. So you have to look at it. But Quincy, what happens if the people vote you in and then you become this big minister? Will they ever see you again, sir?
At the end of the day, yes, we have persons becoming ministers, and I will not be the first, or I will not be last, but you still have to go back to constituents that have brought you there. Without you being voted by the people, you will have never become the minister.
How are you going to balance that?
It is called time management, and learning how to deal with time. In life, we have to learn to separate personal life from business life. I'm a more multi-talented person. And every person knows that I am busy doing crop over. I did crop over while I was teaching, while I was doing planning for a conference, what I was doing. And at the end of the day, I was successful in everything I do because time management is very important. You can learn to give some to your constituents, some to the ministry, some to your family, and above all, some to the church. But you need to have proper time management, and not only proper time management, you need to honestly care for what you're doing. You gotta love what you're doing. If you don't love something, you are not ready to serve. I am so excited to be the candidate for this area, an area that I have brought up and grew up in, an area that I have known people, area that I have cried in terms of family relatives, or in terms of family being done with, in terms of fatal accidents or shootings or anything like that. I have been there, and you have to give it your all. And if we don't give it our all, you can well come out the whole politics.
Yeah. I saw that you gave out some cameras to the seniors. What prompted that in your community? Why did you do that?
First of all, when I first said I want to be the representative for my constituency, I came up with the slogan that this is our home. And within that, I divided 8 pillars: security, education, health, crime, sports, youth involvement, to just name the few. And I decided to start on the elderly because I am recognizing that in my constituency, one, there were persons in the public being attacked by the elderly, but also to recognize that persons in my constituency are suffering from dementia. And some of them were starting to walk away from home. And I decided to, with some other families, to let's install some cameras to help protect them. So it was not only just about protecting, putting in cameras for dealing with crime, but also putting in cameras to deal with persons who are suffering from dementia, who are walking away from their families.
Okay.
I'm being real with you, some older persons are very stubborn. They don't want their family, they don't want to move out and go with their family. They want to grow up and live in their home, and they like this space.
Yes.
So by putting in cameras, which started off as just 5 houses, went to 30 houses, and to this date right now, we are at 63 houses in the constituency where we have put up cameras thanks to donations from corporate Barbados. I'd really like to thank them very much.
And you went out and you got all of those donations?
Yes, please.
Oh my goodness, Quincy.
Because I'm here to serve. I'm not here to pretend. This is a real man with a real game, and I'm playing this game very serious. I take that this is important. And if I want to represent my constituency, and I'm not here to pretend, I am here to let persons know I mean business.
And how many cameras you need?
Can't do it all the time.
Repeat, please.
Pardon me?
How many cameras do you have?
I'm here to make sure that
you put up 63 cameras. How many do you actually need?
So we put up 63 cameras on households. Some households have received 2 or 3 cameras, and some have received 2. But if we can get at least additional 20 more cameras to put on to some own households, that'd be good. What's interesting too is that I have also assisted 5 young entrepreneurs in the constituency who have their businesses, whether they're car washing in the community or doing the different services. And I've also provided cameras for them as well, because they have their own private business. They're doing something positive. And by doing something positive, I say, hey, let's also help them out. So what started off as the elderly now is also helping the young entrepreneurs in the constituency. I am trying my best, and I know that God will be there for me. And if any person who wants to contribute to providing cameras, I do not want cash. I don't want that. I want the cameras so that we can also put on some more households. And what is so nice about this project, it is that families and even the grandparents could be showing them how to put it on their phones and stuff like that. Could be putting it on the family phones. But the grandparents say, "Wait, you're letting me out. You're letting me out. I want to learn too." So some of them are really putting their phones, and some are WhatsApping me on evenings, saying, "Blessed good evening, young man. How are you?" And they're not into the WhatsApping and chatting me now. So I say, "Lord, I started something now." But I honestly am very.
Family can check on them. I didn't even think of that. I thought it was only for crime you were doing that.
No.
So I'm glad.
And a good thing about it, out of that, we 5 persons unfortunately were robbed again at the homes by the elderly persons, and we now have that footage where we pass it on to the police now to do investigations. So one, it didn't deter some people to go back and try to break into persons' homes again. But at least now we can't have the answer to everything, but it is a starting point to helping families, because they were able to detect that someone came into the home. We were able to send that to the police for investigations. And to me, that is a good way and a good measure. And for those who are suffering from dementia, when one person's when the old person's trying to want to leave home, they're assisted heavily by the cameras. Could be put in also little security over the doors, so that when they open the door, it creates an alarm. So we are trying our best in the constituency, but it is one that I think we have to really have a serious discussion on protecting the business like that.
Yes, yes, yes. Wow. And then you have the youth that you have a program with the youth. I honestly I got so caught up with the camera. I wasn't focusing a lot. So you said you have 5 young persons in business that you're helping. Is it 5 or 8?
So we have 5 entrepreneurs. They're young
Right.
people that they
Right.
are also
Yes.
created their own business. And
Yes.
I'm glad to see that they came and approached me, not wanting nothing major. They just wanted cameras to secure their business. And I just laugh at it because I was like, wait, they're talking about security of the business. They said that there's their investment. And I had just like the whole way they were talking. As a teacher, I look at it more sincere because when you're a teacher for so many years, you know when a child is studying the
Mm-hmm.
truth and not the truth. And I was able to help out these five entrepreneurs. And just the other day, they invited me back to come and look at the cameras. I didn't even know that some of the cameras were motion movements because when the car passes, the camera goes. And I was like, wait,
Oh,
like
the
I give
camera
y'all too much.
follows. It follows.
Yeah,
The young people. They're gonna find. They're gonna find it. They're gonna find.
they found a way to get the cameras moving. I didn't even know that the cameras were moving. I still there. I got to put some on my whole slow because I didn't even know how they even get the camera moving with the motion. So
Well,
it's
well,
really good to see young
that's
people doing good
wonderful.
things.
That's wonderful. And Mr. Jones, well, you didn't. I didn't even know um, that you needed 20 cameras before you came on here. You know that that's the truth, and my people know as well that I'm not going to pretend and let you come on here and to beg or anything. He didn't, but I am asking. I'm saying if you're listening and you, from your heart, you want to help Mr. Jones to get a camera or two for his what he's doing in the Christchurch East Central. I think it's a very good initiative. It's very heartwarming. I could see why corporate Barbados would give it because I feel like I would give a camera. So if you're listening and he needs 20 more to cover all the elderly people in the community, I think that's a good thing. And to consider that 5 of them were robbed and they now have footage. Do you remember they were robbing the old people? You remember that? So I think
Yes.
that's a great gesture. But really, as we chatted this evening, and I wanted you to give us your take on what is happening presently in Barbados. Quincy, there's so many things that are happening. There's so
Mhm.
many. I don't even know where to start. But if we could start at what happened overnight. Went to bed and then we got up this morning and we heard that the government has halted the tourism accommodation bill. I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at that bill and what were some of the challenges. We saw Barbadians from all walks of life rose up and said, "But this is oppressive. We can't have this." And Barbadians spoke up against it and pushed back. And this is now probably there's several bills that has occurred with the cybercrime bill. There is we just had the section 52B in the wiretap bill. There's so many others, all of them not coming to me. I had them written down this evening, but all not coming to me now. But those of you who are watching, you know what these are, right? And the tint as well, that date was pushed back, digital ID, push back, push back, push back. And what young man, when you see these kinds of things happening, this is what you want to get involved in. What are your thoughts?
First, let me say that a day in politics is a long time. They always taught me that in political science. And it shows how quickly things can shift in the political strategies of political parties or which involve mixed promises or public statements or even events that can change the course of action. What I have seen in this government is that it is playing a game of chess where each move can have a significant consequence. And this game of chess is like a dance move where it is one step forward, two step backwards. I know that that was a good Calypsonian, so
And
one step
tremble.
forward and hold your belly. Not only tremble, but hold your belly and tremble
Hold your belly
and
and tremble.
tremble. And what I could say is that several things this government has incorporated to do, but have failed to implement. One, the Freedom of Information Act and Integrity legislation, which was to be dealt with in the first 100 days in office. We're now years in office. Probably we're now
Actually,
close.
they said the integrity. I don't know about the freedom of information. They said they would start at that on day one. But go ahead.
Yeah. And now it was supposed to be implemented within the first 100 days. And now probably we're more closer to the 100 days of elections than the 100 days of office. Then we had the new Trident IDs, where you can see the one step forward where they advise that if you didn't get it or didn't sign on to it by a particular deadline, you will be punished in terms of scheduling, in terms of January the 31st that year. And then so quickly it was vanished in terms of the new minister making proclamations that the delay was due to overseas circumstances, and then they have abandoned it completely. Then you have seen witness of the car tint, where the car tint now was another one where the government in the road traffic and the regulations 2025 was set new limits for how dark vehicle windows tints can be. And with the Met outcry, they went and changed the decision. Now the question is, will these decisions are only now because elections are approaching, or will they reimpose or come back again after elections? Right? It is very interesting that they are now honestly listening to the public. And then finally was the Airbnb, the short-term rentals and shared economy levy, which the government introduced the Tourism Accommodation Bill, which was for operators will now need to register the license and pass inspections. License will move from being valid for 1 year to 2 years. Then there will be a heavy fines of $250,000 for operating and advertising or being listed without complying with registration and stuff like that. And once again, this continues to be a one step, two step backwards, where they finally listen to the small business persons crying out by signing their own petition. But I don't think we should have waited to that petition to occur. We should have made sure that before that bill comes to Parliament, that bill was vetted, it went to different town hall meetings, and do the correct things in its correct way. So once again, you see the government doing one step forward, two steps backwards. So on paper, regulation brings standards and safety and fairness. But for those who were already operating, it can feel like a retroactively being punished or made to spend more. The rules may benefit large operators who can observe costs, while smaller ones might struggle. If enforcement is weak or inconsistent, such as lack of staff or slow licensing, then the rules may exist but not the working practice, or only affect certain people. So when the government changes things, like enforcement delays or midstreams, that introduces uncertainty and can reduce confidence in that party, or better yet, lack of trust. And that is what's happening, is everything they are rushing to Parliament, not listening to the correct stakeholders, not going to the people to get their views. And then they have to backpedal, or better yet, I heard on the radio, wheel and come again, and go back two steps backwards. And it is sad. That is the reality of this government, that in terms of how they are operating. And I hope that there are no more any laws that they want to rush now that will cause that another delay, another answer. But I'm glad that they're listening to the public, and that we hope that in future they continue to listen to the public, for sure.
Yeah, and you know, very well said, there, Mr. Jones. Well, one of the things you said, which is so important there, is, you know, is this something that um, is being done now? All of a sudden, they're retracting these things. They are, you know, pulling back, and they're, you know, all of these things because election is around the corner. And I think that it's so important that Barbadians open their eyes and realize that if this is something that they really want to do, and once they get back, once they get in power, look at what's going to happen. More than likely they're going to just reel them out, you know, in the first
Mhm.
100 days or so. More than likely these are the things that they're going to do, because it was always in their minds to, you know, to do it. So I think that that is a very very important point that you have raised there, Mr. Jones. Well, you know, because of the back and forth, we'll talk until our next guest come. But you know, we've gone over the time because you had some challenges
Yes.
in joining. You know, but
Yes.
one of the things that I noticed you did a lot with the schools, you know, and Shakwani as well did a lot with children, providing for children in the constituency that you are in, and then we heard Mr. Abeds came out, and you know, he was saying he's never seen this kind of poverty where people were just needing help. He's never seen it in the history of Barbados. Can you
I agree.
talk to me about your constituency and what's the climate in there? What has it been like?
Um, while canvassing, during the back to school part, I decided to give over 550 bags back for students in the community. I did not decide to do a party or anything like that. I decided to come to their homes one on one because it is children. I don't think certain things should be publicized
Mm,
or certain things should be in the public domain. But I went to many households that was very thankful and grateful for the back to school bags that we give out in the constituency. What is sad though, it is that we are now in week 3 in teaching, and the request for bags is still necessary. Some students are using their old school bag. Some students are even using their little brother bag or a cousin of theirs bag to just go to school. And the reality is that it is the economy. Even though we might have been given all of these growth of economy, it is not it's not coming down or trickling down to the pockets of persons that have to buy the school bags. And what I found interesting in this constituency is that even though we were giving out the bags, we then found out another problem, which is school uniforms,
mm.
where overall uniform would have been $40 or $50 last year, now have jumped to over $100.
What?
And yes, so overalls are very high in terms of cost. Imagine a parent having 3 children to send school, and she said the best you could do is give them one uniform per child, which is 3 sets of uniforms, but one per child. And it is just sad that we are now seeing the economy not improving in the lives of people, and it is affecting all classes. I'm not even calling out a particular class anymore. I think it is affecting all classes. And I have went to all different areas in my constituency randomly, asking, went by door, asking, do you want to buy? Some persons took the bag, and some person said, I prefer you to give it down the road to that house because they are more in need of it. And I really appreciate my constituents because they have really helped me to go door to door. And because of that, I was able to meet the children, get to know them, get to know what school to pass for. And those who I met with the schools that they passed for, I came back and gave them a gift in terms of a congratulations. Whether they passed to Parkinson or Grantley Adams or Queen's College or Dayton Griffith, you have passed. And I am proud of them. And as the future representative and MP of that area, I will continue to love them as much as I can.
Yes, yes. Well, I think the need, the level of need in the country, it's so grave. And when we look at even, our social services, we were speaking this evening, and we realized that that is such a problem, even though October 1st is around the corner, and we are being told that, we're going to have uh, persons from the 4 Caribbean countries are going to be coming into Barbados. I think that is quite interesting when you think about the hospital, the QEH, or just our healthcare system. We were looking. Someone told us today they were so very very sick, and went to QEH, and they basically sent them home as soon as possible. They don't have enough space. They don't, the person not well at all, but the doctor, nobody was there to look after them. There's just too many people. They just, it's an overload on the system. But Quincy, we are being told that come October 1st, where I'm like, it was just announced. Nobody prepared us for it. Now somebody might say, but Marcia, you're from Jamaica. Well, I'm saying is that I've been here 20 something years. I've never seen anything like this before, with just the level of poverty in the country, and the social systems, so how weak, the weakness of our social systems is the first that I'm seeing that, and then to be told that more people are going to come in. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Quincy?
First of all, I'm for Caribbean integration. I believe in it because being a student of the University of West Indies, my my best friends are from St. Vincent and Trinidad. So I love the whole aspect of integration and getting to know the different cultures. My problem with the October 1st, one, it seems very rushed again. Two, I think dialogue is needed because there are many questions that are needed to be asked. So my questions are: we currently have our health care that, even though we have the health care, persons are still at this late hour having to spend long hours in a waiting line to be administered to be a nurse or a doctor in a case of crisis. But yet we are adding on more people to our country. We have crime going up. I mean, the police officers is stretched to their capacity,
Yeah.
having to do long hours or 6 days or whatever they are doing to solve the crime, but yet we are bringing in more people. We have our food bills very high. Labor is going to be a very questionable because persons are going to choose cheap labor over the minimum wage labor,
Mhm.
and that is going to cause another headache where Barbadians might be unemployed. So the question is, have we really think this through?
Yes.
I am, and not only have it think it through, I am all for the benefits of what it provides. But if we can at least look at the issues that are going to face with bringing in so much persons,
Mhm.
then what are the solutions to them?
Mhm.
And not knocking down any immigration policy or not knocking down the CARICOMs nationals, because I do believe that Caribbean people need to be exposed to each other and live brotherly. But we do have issues in this country that we need to solve first
Yeah.
before we can bring other persons. Uh, I hope that we are not. It's like a house is deteriorating, but we decide to put paint on the house, thinking that the house is fixed, but the
Mhm.
house is not fixed. The house just looked pretty on that day, and I hope personally that this is not for any politics or even voting, where voting numbers can go up in terms of CARICOM can vote no, but we're doing it out of our hearts and out of doing things out of our goodness of helping CARICOM nationals coming here to Barbados. I have no problem once again, but I still think that there are many questions Barbadians need to ask in terms of vendors, in terms of labor, in terms of education? Will non-nationals have to pay the same waiver now, or is it the same as, do they get the free education as Barbadians get instead of the two separate prices? What is the method going forward? So these questions need to be asked first and be answered first, and so that all of us are given clear indication and direction. And I hope that this do not become a one step forward and a two-step backward.
And hold my belly and tremble.
And tremble.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Jones, thank you so much. And I mean, we waited for you. We had some technical difficulty, and I'm so glad that we did. And it's refreshing. I know you in the arts community. You're very, with your designs,
Crop
as a
over.
man, crop over. That's my first encounter with you, and just to see you and how you transitioned and growing up, and all of that. I just want to say, keep going, and well, this show will be here. If you go in there and you're not functioning, my brother, I'm telling you, we gonna be sitting right here.
No problem.
Trust me, and we gonna remember what you told us. So
No
you better,
problem.
go on and walk. Good. All right. All right. Okay, Quincy. All the very best. All right. All the
And
best.
good night to you, and thanks for inviting me to on the show.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
an honor to be here, and good night to the entire Barbados.
Yes. Good night. Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, folks. Yeah. Go ahead, Dave. You. Sure.
Hold belly and tremble. It is one step forward, then two step backward and tremble. Hold belly and tremble. It's not the butterfly.
Yeah. You know what? Let me welcome Mr. Stephen Lashley. Hi. Good evening, Mr. Lashley. How are
Good
you
evening.
doing?
I'm fine. Good evening to you, Marcia, and to the rest of the listening public. As usual, I'm happy to be on your show as well.
Yes, sir. And I had as you saw, Mr. Quincy Jones on earlier, and he is a person. Well, I knew him in culture, and I know you have had experience with you in culture,
Of course.
through all of my films, and everything else was always going to Mr. Lashley, to help us, give us guidance, and you were there for all of us. And I've said it all the time on the show. I'm that kind of person. I don't forget what people have done. And I thought that you were a fantastic minister of culture. Nobody
Well,
can
thank
point
you.
a finger at you. You
Thank
did
you
a
very much.
fabulous job, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
It was
Well,
my honor, actually.
yes, sir. Well, we wanted, tonight. I know, as I told you, we had some technical challenges, and so I want to apologize to you on air, because you were supposed to be on, way earlier. But we're thankful that you stayed on. So we have less time, but we wanted to look at, a little bit on, Carifesta. And then I know that you have some thoughts on some other areas, as well, right? And I am between two minds. Don't know if we should we go towards the information, put it in a setting of the debt to GDP ratio, or should we go straight ahead with,
No,
your
perhaps you can
thoughts,
set the
Ricardo?
tone by that. I'm very interested to hear about that part of it
Okay,
as well.
so let's set the tone there, guys. And for this, I want us to, on the Marcia Weekes Show, we educate, we motivate, we mobilize, and we agitate. This is an education moment. All right, so I'm just going to take a couple minutes to educate us. If Dave could put up that first, that presentation, and between myself and Mr. Lasher, we're going to go through it to talk to you about the debt to GDP ratio of Barbados. And it's important, Mr. Lashley, that we look at Carifesta in that context. Because we are, if it is that we are going to spend money, we need to be able to, like any family, to say, what do we have in the bank? How much the children have in the piggy banks? Can we do this particular thing? And so we want to look at the debt to GDP ratio of Barbados and other Caribbean islands. And sorry, this I had prepared this, as I say, explain for youth. All right, but it's so simple, you'll be able to understand. I want everybody, I always say, you get your book and your pencil and your phone and let's take some notes because I think it's important. Yeah. So Dave, if we go to the first slide, and what we're doing here is defining what is debt to GDP ratio, right? What is that? So the debt to GDP ratio compares a country's total debt to the size of its economy. Basically, is how much money your country earns in a year, and the debt is how much money your country owes. Very, very, very simple. So there's a debt to GDP. So the debt, how much your country owes, and the GDP is how much money did the country earn in a year. And I think that every Barbadian should be glued into this. All right. So don't leave now because you say, oh Lord, this looks difficult to understand. Stay with us, please. We're going somewhere with it. Okay. And as it says here, it's like comparing how much allowance you earn to how much money you borrowed. So let's go quickly to the next screen. I think people generally, you understand that. If you need me to stop, let me know. Right. So imagine if we're, as I said, you're not a youth, but it was prepared for young people. But imagine you're earning 100 allowance monthly. Okay. You earn 100 monthly, but you borrow $50. We already realize that that is half of what we are earning, right? We earn 100 and we borrow 50. That is half of what we are borrowed. So therefore, your debt to GDP, how much you earn, is 50%. Make sense? If you borrow 120 though, and you're earning 100, already we know we're $20 over, right, Mr. Lashley?
Yes.
We're $20 over. So then our debt to GDP ratio is now 120%. So I am working for $100 and I gone and I owe $120, right?
Right.
So I'm 20% over my earning. So therefore, my debt to my debt to GDP ratio would be 120%. The higher the percentage is, remember now, people, because this you're gonna see this come up later. The higher the percentage, the harder it is to pay back without stress. All of us manage our households, and we know that. Let's go quickly to the next slide, Dave. Now, what economists consider to be healthy for a country? For small countries like Barbados, a ratio under 60% is generally considered safe. Where did I get all of this from? From the same World Bank, from the IMF, all of that. I got all of this information from. All right. So a ratio under 60% is generally considered to be safe. Put that down. Remember, under 60% is safe, considered safe. This is by economists worldwide. And the reason for that, it gives room to borrow in emergencies, hurricanes, and pandemics. Above 100%, it can become risky, making it harder to borrow affordably, right? Because then, interest rates you might have to pay higher interest. Nobody don't believe you're going to pay it back, all of that. Okay. Next one. Now, look at this slide. Mr. Lash, you can see clearly?
Yes, I can see. Yes.
Yeah. The debt to GDP ratios in the Caribbean. I don't know if you want to explain this a little bit or just comment on what you're seeing on the screen?
Well, I mean, essentially what you have is certainly in the Caribbean, I think all economies face a challenge in terms of debt to GDP ratio. But there are some countries, including Barbados, where that ratio is exceedingly high and has been high for quite a while. So there have been debt challenges, and that's a reality of Caribbean economies.
Correct. Yeah, and we look and we see here, Cayman, you see Cayman. If Dave could point to Cayman for me. Cayman Islands and Cayman Islands, there, I was checking out the strength of their dollar today. It's 80 something cents US dollar is 80 something cents to one of their dollar, Mr. Lashley. I didn't
Okay.
realize it was that strong.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
look at their debt, and probably that explains why their debt to GDP ratio is so low. It seems to me that we're looking at probably, it's not even 40%.
Yeah.
It's not even
That's
40%.
quite low. Yes.
That is quite low. That is quite low, right? And Bahamas is a little over 60%, you would say, Mr. Lashley, or about
Yeah.
probably near 70.
Yeah.
Bahamas. Now, it's interesting. These two countries here, I spoke to an official of from one of the countries here in the Ministry of Culture, and they said, well, Bahamas, our country, Bahamas and Cayman Islands were asked to host the Carifesta, and we told them absolutely not. We cannot afford it. You heard that?
And I think that's why then I believe that left the door open for Barbados to step in to say, well, we will do it.
We will do it. But when you look at the debt to GDP ratio for Barbados, we're looking at between, I think it's 113% to 115%.
Yes.
And we went ahead and we did it. Okay.
Yes.
And I want people to hold that in their head. And those of you who want to take a screenshot of this, go ahead and take a screenshot of this. Now, Dave, I want to just move. Okay, just quickly, because time is going. In 1981, we had a low debt to GDP ratio. Mr. Lashley, it was 30 to 40%.
Yes.
Yeah. And 30 to 40%. So we were like Cayman, right? That was 1981. And that year is significant because I remember the Prime Minister only about a week and a half ago, I think, in the press, she had a statement saying that in 1981 that Barbados, spent over $11 million for Carifesta.
In 1981?
Yes. In 1981, I'll show. We have Dave. I think you have that.
Is that 11 million US dollars?
US dollars.
US dollars, which translates to about 20-something million Barbados dollars.
20-something million Barbados dollars, and then she said, well, with inflation, it would be about 40-something million dollars today.
Yes.
Right. All of this information, I want people to hold it in their heads, please, or write it down, right? Now, that was 1981 that we would have spent $11 million US dollars. In 2025, our debt to GDP ratio is about 115%, it says here. We could go with even lower, I'd say 113 to 115%. So a higher debt means less room for emergencies, etc. We understand what that means. Dave, if we could go to the breakdown quickly of the different countries and how much was spent on Carifesta for all the years, because Mr. Lash, as Dave is finding that, you said something to me the other day. Why do you think the Prime Minister decided to tell us how much was spent in 1981 for Carifesta? What do you, as a former minister?
The context is quite clear, because don't forget, the government is yet to tell the country what has been spent on Carifesta in 2025. In fact, it has yet to disclose a budget. And the Prime Minister, I believe, said that it would be irresponsible to say how much Carifesta costs when they are still paying suppliers, and this is what is being said. So the context of throwing a figure like that, relating it to 1981, in my estimation, is a precursor to prepping Barbadians to say, well, look, if that was spent in 1981, don't be shocked if the figure is close to that in 2025. Yeah. And I think that is where the Prime Minister is, and they're very keen. As you know, the Barbados is very good on PR. So they're very keen on setting the table for what has to be disclosed, because obviously what has to now be disclosed now is some figure that is certainly in that vicinity or a little below. I believe she did say though that they didn't spend that much. So that was like say, well, in 1981, we spent, you know, close to 20 something million. So we won't spend that much now. So therefore that justifies the spend. I think that's the
right.
that's
That might be where she's going, and which
I
is
believe
why.
that's the analysis that is coming down the tube.
And it prompted me to go to look at what was happening, you know, in the economy at that particular time. You know, it made me. This is why I went and
But
tried
don't
to dig
forget, in
up.
1981,
Yes,
the Barbados Labour Party was in office, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Prime Minister was then the Minister of Culture. I believe so at that time. And I mean, if you had to analyze even that spend in 1981, and you look around Barbados now to see what was the investment quality or benefits from spending that kind of money, you'll probably be very hard pressed to find it in terms of what benefit accrued to Barbados in terms of infrastructure, that is the creative sector infrastructure, and so on. So it is, to my mind, interesting and very revealing, this figure that has been cast. And of course, you know, we understand the nature of cost benefit analysis,
yes,
because you can't look at a figure without looking at the benefits. All right. And it'd be very interesting to get an expose on what that figure translated to then and what it would be translated to now.
yes, most definitely. Well, if Dave, this what we have here, Dave, I wanted the other one that we worked on today with the Excel file. That's this one, but this one here, people could take a screenshot of it, of this particular one. Well, here we go. Let's go through this here. So this is this is the one here, Miss, and we see your spend is going to be on this one as well, Mr. Lashley.
Right.
Somebody's asking how much was spent in 2017, because they think we're not going to say everybody's is on here. So if you look clearly, you would see Mr. Lashley in 1972 when it Carifesta started in 1972, right?
Yes.
Right, Guyana. It was their idea actually, and 1972, and we don't have the figures there. There's nothing we could find, no information on the net for that. 1979, nothing. 1976 was Jamaica, 1979 was Cuba, and we don't have those figures. But in 1981, when it was said that there would have been it's like a resurgence of Carifesta, so they were reviving it. All right, so I don't know if that's what I saw on the net. I leave that to you all. You will know, Mr. Lashley, than I would, and you can clarify that for the viewers. But the $11.9 million was spent. Okay,
right.
All right, the adjusted figure, if we were going to now,
and I want you to underscore that's 11.9 million US dollars, not Barbados dollars.
US.
Yes.
Yes, US dollars. Thank you. US dollars. Thank you, Mr. Lashley. And so if we're going to adjust for inflation, that's about $42 million in 2025. All right. But remember that, and that's why we did the GDP, the debt to GDP ratio. And if you remember what it was for Barbados, in that particular time, in 1981. Right. So remember, versus what it is now. All right. Mm-hmm. So look at Trinidad and Tobago. They, in 1992, they spent. And we needed to remind the people that was a BLP government in 1981, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Trinidad, look what they spent. They're saying they spent $1.5 million. Okay, that's nice. Mm-hmm.
Bear in mind that is 1.9 million TNT dollars, right? And I believe
wait, 1.5 million US.
Is that US?
Yes.
No, US. Okay.
Yes.
I thought it was TNT dollars.
US.
Okay.
In the yellow section, folks, is what is the adjusted figure.
Right.
You know,
Mhm.
if adjusted for inflation.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Right. But that today, in today's time, they would have spent 3.45 million in
Right.
today. Okay. Important. We're going somewhere with this. All
Mhm.
right. Let's look at 1995. We couldn't find those figures. In 2000, St. Kitts, Dave. Right. Thank you. St. Kitts, that's 2.3 something million, right? That they spent in 2000. And in today's time, that would be about 4.4 million US. And this is all US dollars we're dealing with, we're speaking of. In 2003 in Suriname, they did Carifesta for 840,000 US. Not even a million, Mr. Lashley,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
In 2006, Trinidad and Tobago, again, they had it again, 5 million US. Okay, I want people to see the ballpark, Mr. Lashley, of what has been spending, what people have been spending, right?
Right. Mhm.
2008, Guyana, 4.9 million. 2013, Suriname, let's see that, $9 million. Okay,
Mhm.
Haiti, I didn't even realize Haiti had done it.
Yes,
Haiti
because
was,
we took the baton from Haiti. I was in Haiti at the time for Carifesta, and took the baton in Haiti, and then signaled that Barbados would be the next host of Carifesta.
yes. And we come to your year, Mr. Lashley,
Mhm.
2017, 4 million
Yeah.
US. So here we have, I wanted to see, just if you could just look at even the couple years ahead of 2017, if you just even look at 2018, what's that, 2008, Guyana 4 million, Suriname, the next one was 9 million, Haiti 5 million, Trinidad 5 million, or St. Kitts 2.3 million, 1.5 million. You understand, guys? I want us to get the ballpark of what we're dealing
Right.
with. And I think that this is important. I know why I think it is important, but I've been talking a lot. Over to you, Mr. Ashley.
Yeah. Well, but it's important to see the kind of trend. I mean, and I want to make it clear that the intention is not in any way to point a finger at the product Carifesta. Carifesta is a product that has been embraced by the Caribbean. It is a product of the CARICOM, secretariat, and it has been embraced by Caribbean people. Certainly, when we hosted it in 2017, and I want persons to believe to understand that in 2017, Barbados was encountering the worst recession ever. Barbados was impacted by a world recession, and therefore money was very scarce. We had debt issues. That's why the debt to GDP ratio was so high, because in a large extent, that recession, which was fueled by what was happening in North America, left a dent in our tourism earnings. It left a dent in our international business earnings,
Mm-hmm.
to the extent that the country itself was impacted across all sectors. And that has never been experienced in Barbados before. And while there has been the criticism of how the government responded to that, that is the deal that we were served. Now, in that environment, certainly our approach, while we accepted the challenge of hosting Carifesta in 2017, was to exercise prudence in terms of our spend.
Mm-hmm.
So a number of decisions we took. That's why we were able to come in with that kind of budget. And remember that out of that was the total refurbishment of the Daphne Joseph Hackett Theatre and the Queen's Park buildings. So that expenditure is incorporated into that, and I believe that project alone was probably over $2 to $3 million. So impacted in that, and also we did refurbishment of more than 10, 12 schools. Commonwealth, for example, Leicester Vaughan, all of those cultural spaces were improved. The Barbados Community College as well. So we invested that money in existing plant, and we opted not to go into major capital expenditure, right? Because of what was happening in the economy. So that is why you will see there. And I believe that that has been the approach for most Caribbean countries. Yes, we will host Carifesta, but we want to do it within a disciplined framework, within our means. Now, if in fact the government, when it came into office, they certainly chastised the government, the Democratic Labour Party, for having such a deficit position, and also the debt to GDP ratio, which of course was captured within a recession. So if that is what we're dealing with, trying to bring the debt to GDP ratio down, then to incur huge amounts of money in expenditure without some kind of practical control would be bordering on being irresponsible. And remember, the other thing is that when the government came into office, there was much hullabaloo about the debt to GDP ratio. In fact, the government felt so strongly that it said it would put in place legislation to control the management of money in the public sector in particular. You may be familiar with the I think it's called the Public Financial Management Act, I believe, that was implemented with some very, very, very serious control measures in there. In fact, one of the things that was in there that you could not have or embark on a project without a proper budget, and you could not expend the government funds outside of that budget without having some serious explanations for it.
I've heard of that. I've heard of that, but I've never looked at it. Tell me the
You
name.
never looked at that?
I want to research it. What's the name of it?
Right. It's called I made a note here. It's called the Public Finance Management Act of 2019.
Okay.
And under that particular legislation, there's some significance. If you look at section 31(4) of that act, for example, persons such as CEOs and accounting officers within the government, if they breach that act in terms of overspend, or they did something that was not within a budget, then in fact they could be penalized in money terms. They call it penalties. They call it a surcharge. They could be surcharged for that. And unbudgeted commitments are totally dissuaded from unbudgeted commitments. So if you put the context of that legislation within the context of what the Prime Minister would have disclosed to Barbadians, that we don't know, we can't tell you what the budget is, we can't tell you what the spend is, because we are still paying suppliers. Then the question, if you don't have a budget, certainly they have not revealed a budget, you can't say what the spend is, then one can surmise that the government, as it relates to Carifesta, engage in unbudgeted financing. And if that is the case, then they are in breach of their own legislation. Now, the other thing about it is that, remember, there's the BERT plan, the BERT plan, which was you hear the governor of the central bank talking a lot about it. That was designed especially as an IMF control measure to put a check on runaway finances in the public sector, and to ensure that what is budgeted by Parliament was spent, and that if in fact there had to be excess, there had to be explanation. So, and I think that these things are very good financial tools. They are good safeguards. So when we look at Carifesta in terms of what that particular legislation is saying and what the BERT plan was saying, then I asked the question, whenever this budget or this spend is released, the next question would be, were those funds budgeted for? Were they approved by Parliament? And if not, then who is responsible or accountable for the overspend? It means that somebody would have authorized expenditure in a situation, in circumstances where those expenditures were not approved and budgeted. All right. And that's all we're saying. We love Carifesta. We're just saying that within the context of the government's own benchmarks,
Mm-hmm.
questions have to be raised as to whether or not the government itself did not engage in an activity that was in breach of the law. And that is serious because if you look at that legislation, the government is required fiscally every year to lay before Parliament a document. I believe it's called a I have it here too. Let me just pull it up quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
And
it is called,
while he's doing that, I want to say we're trying to find section 34.4.
oh, you found it?
I think they found the Public Finance Management Act, and he's trying to find that section
Right.
to show the viewers, because we like to educate our people. I am learning about it for the
Right.
first.
That section is certainly speaks to the penalties and so on.
To the
Uh,
penalties. Yes, somebody was asking, and to remind the viewers
it
too.
is actually 31.4.
Oh,
That's the
31.
31.4.
31 4, Dave, if you could find that.
31.4. And if you pull that
30,
up, certainly
yes,
the
if we
viewers
can,
can see
yes.
that.
And to
Um,
remind, we need to remind the viewers that the budget, according that was given to us in, it's what, April, was $4 million, right? Was 4
right.
million Barbados dollars
Of
for
course.
Carifesta
That is what I think I saw in the estimates in
in the
Parliament.
estimates.
And
So
if you look at that legislation, you will see that it has responsibilities for the ministers and what the minister can or cannot do. In fact, in Section 9, if you deviate from the fiscal objectives that are set in Parliament, you have to give solid reasons for it. The government may do that, but only in circumstances where there are situations that were not envisaged. So if you had a hurricane, if you had a disaster, if you had something that could not be conceived of, those are the circumstances in which the government can deviate from those fiscal objectives, which are the ceilings that are set.
yes,
Now, one would have to say whether or not there was anything within the Carifesta arrangement that was could not have been predicted, and that would fall in line of the exception in Section 9 of that Act. So these are questions that have to be raised, because I think the government, very rightfully so, would have come into government with some very stringent objectives in terms of fiscal management and control, budgetary control, which are required, because I believe the objective that the government has set would be to bring the debt to GDP ratio of Barbados to within that 60% that you're talking
yes,
about
you're correct. That is
by the year 2030. So
yeah.
we have a particular objective to bring that debt to GDP ratio into that 60% area by 2030, which means that every year that debt to GDP ratio must be coming down. It can't be going up. Now we had a situation where when we had the ashfall and we had COVID, and if you look at the statistics around that time, those were exceptional circumstances. So while the debt to GDP ratio was coming down prior to that, it shot right up during COVID and during the ashfall for obvious reasons.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I think based on the benchmark set by government, every Barbadian, including us in the Democratic Labour Party, we are not exempt from that. We were faced with situations when we were in office, recessionary times that caused it to go up significantly. But we all have an interest in ensuring that there's our checks and balances and explanations, because there could have been once, and without presuming what the government will say in relation to the expenditure for Carifesta, I think the first checkpoint that has not been adhered to is to release the information on the budget. We're not getting to the spend yet, because we need to know what the budget was. And if we know because I think the government yesterday, last week, could have said to Barbadians, the budget for Carifesta 15 was X amount of whatever it is, millions, whatever it is. Now, having seen or heard the budget, then we could then begin to talk about what the spend is. It is almost like you're not revealing either figure.
Nothing. But
if you say what the spend is without revealing in advance what the budget was, it does not make for proper analysis or reasoning. So you need to know what the budget. I think the government can say now, right now, what the Carifesta budget was, and leave it there. And by the time all the suppliers that the prime minister have to be paid, when they're paid either by now and next year or whatever, then you could release that figure, and then we could then compare. Well, you did say in September 2025 the budget was X, and you're not revealing what the spend is. We can then make an extrapolation to say whether you've reached the budget or not. But none of that has come, So that alone, in my view, amounts to a significant breakaway from the legal obligations under that particular legislation we're talking about, because it is not a prudent financial approach to not tell your country what the budget is or not have a budget. So that is a bit disappointing for me, and in fact, we know that there have been some capital projects in Carifesta. I went to the Performing Arts Center at Newton for an event there, and I'm not telling you that I don't certainly embrace the concept of a performing arts center. Yes, but the question is, I also need to know what the cost is. I need to know whether it was budgeted, whether it was a gift to Barbados, whatever it was. And my concern has always been, because if you engage in capital spending in a manner that is reckless, in other words, you had 2 years to plan Carifesta, but you wait until the last minute to rush these projects and engage contractors at exorbitant last minute rates. That is not a reasonable and responsible exercise of your public financing responsibility. In other words, you could have probably gotten that built, and I'm just using arbitrary figures. You may have gotten it built for $2 million, but because of the inadequate planning and reckless planning, in my view, you probably have to spend $5 million for it. So while you can boast, because these are the things that I think people need to look to, beyond these super concerts, which of course the government turned into super fests. Our approach in 2017, we had super concerts too. But we said to the delegations, if you're bringing in super artists, it is your responsibility to pay for those artists. We are not going to take up the taxpayers' money and pay for super artists. So those countries who wanted super artists brought them in at their own cost. And we had super concerts. In fact, I was almost about 2 or 3 feet from the Prime Minister, who was having a good time at some of these super concerts. And of course, having a good time, and I think she attended quite a few of them. The next couple of days, she went and told Barbadians that she was embarrassed to be a Barbadian because Carifesta was a flop. So that contradictory terms being used, but at the end of the day, it has to do with how you manage these things. Delegations, for example, had to pay their way. They had to pay for the accommodations and so on. We made sure, and we did have very early meetings with the hotel sector. And that's the contrast. I mean, somebody said to me, well, they had somebody from a delegation who was staying in a school for Carifesta 15. And they called them to ask for assistance because they were not provided with the basic necessities to survive. What we did, we had the hotel association and those people in on meetings more than a year before Carifesta in 2017. None of the delegations had to stay at any schools because they were accommodated in our hotels. What that meant, that translated into earnings for the hotel sector. So there was you talk about the economic benefit. The hotel sector benefited directly because they had persons from Carifesta in their rooms. The taxi operators, because if you ask the average taxi operator in Barbados how did they benefit from Carifesta 15, many of them would be hard done to tell you whether or not they were able to benefit. So I believe if we get into the cost-benefit analysis, it could very well be that the expenditure incurred by the government was worth it based on the cost-benefit analysis. But if we don't have the information, Barbadians cannot engage in a proper cost-benefit analysis. And I suspect, based on the information that I've heard, that if the final figures are given honestly to Barbadians, there would be quite a bit of embarrassment to the government, because you see the where the divide is My notion of a successful Carifesta is not necessarily having, 15,000 people, Barbadians, at a free fete and having a good time. It is the quality and it is the legacy. And if you remembered in 2017, way before Carifesta, I attended a COSOD meeting in Guyana, which is a meeting of ministers of culture. And we sat and we deliberated on what could be the theme for Carifesta. And we felt that the creative industries should be felt and in Carifesta, in future Carifestas. So that is why the Carifesta in 2017 in Barbados echoed the creative sector, because we felt very strongly that the time had come to translate what was happening in the creative sector into an industry that could be part of the diversification of the economy. And that's the problem. I mean, the only way you can deal with this debt to GDP ratio is to show that measure of confidence in the creative sector. And infrastructure is always welcome. That's why I said we are not quarreling with Carifesta, we're not quarreling with infrastructure. But the disclosure and accountability is what is missing from this whole scenario, right? And the rush to construct premises. I remember in 1981, you remember there was the structures at the NCF were done for Carifesta. They used the same tech material that I believe they've used at the Carifesta village in Waterford. And if you ask me now, where are the structures that money was spent on at the NCF compound? And you can't see any. They disappeared because they had to be taken down because they were destroyed by high winds. So,
wow.
so I think
This was done. This is why the history is so important. This was done. What we're seeing there at Waterford in 1981, when under their administration, when they spent a whole lot of money, 11 million US dollars, they did put up structures there, but
yes,
and there were 10 structures that were destroyed by high wind.
at the NCF compound where it currently is
wow.
over there in St. James. There were structures there, and those structures were torn apart by high wind. But that is money. That is why those structures were never inherited by Barbadians, because that money did not translate into long-lasting investment structures. And my question is whether these structures that are currently there, enough technical know-how went into them. I can tell you, somebody said to me, I was not there, but somebody said that when in the beginning stages of the Grand Market, the covering was such that lots of water, when the rain fell, the place was soaked because it was not, and of course, certain people in very high
I
positions.
I was told that by a vendor as well. But go ahead.
Exactly. So, and then after, well, they sought to correct things as you go. I believe that I was told certainly Prime Minister and the Minister had to rush down there, along with the senior minister responsible for infrastructure, to try to somehow get this thing sorted. So we have to put the watch on what will happen to this structure here that has been put up. I do understand that the property, the land on which the Grand Market, the Super Grand Market, has been constructed, it is not owned by the government as we speak. I understand that the government is now engaged in discussions with the owner to purchase the property. So you had public funds being expended on land that the government did not own, and now I'm waiting to hear the announcement as to what the government will have to spend or will have to pay to this owner to secure the land upon which this huge structure is built. So you're working from the answer back. It is not responsible. It is not prudent financial management. So the planning and so on was executed in circumstances where you have to question. If we were in government, I am sure the Prime Minister will be marching up and down Barbados protesting this. I mean, she had no basis upon which to criticize Carifesta 13. I recall she said when I raised the question of the expenditure, she made a point that nobody knew that Carifesta was happening in Barbados in 2013, which is a complete joke. We did an impact assessment right, which was done by independent persons to assess Carifesta 13. And we know the value of Carifesta 13. We did a report, and the report was done within record time, sent to CARICOM. We had the CARICOM Secretary General coming to Barbados and complimented Barbados on the execution of Carifesta 13. But we did Carifesta 13 within a situation where we had to watch our monies. The delegations were able to come to Bar. And I always distinguish that because Carifesta 13, right, at the beginning of Carifesta 13, we were impacted by a tropical storm. I don't know if you remember that.
No, I
A
don't.
tropical storm impacted Barbados. And I always say kudos to the technical team. They had to recalibrate a calendar of over 500 events at a very short time. It actually knocked out the schedule totally. And therefore, you remember we had to reschedule the opening ceremony. We had to reschedule the opening ceremony. I see Adrian Hines is saying that he was home and had a fantastic time. So there was a lot of politics being injected into Carifesta 2017. And of course, the next year was elections, so I can understand the little panic coming from the Barbados Labour Party. But to be fair, we had a very successful Carifesta in 2017. It was prudently managed, and we had time. We had time to plan and to ensure that we don't end up in Russian stuff. We completed the refurbishment of the Queen's Park buildings, including the Daphne Joseph Hackett Theatre, in good time. We didn't have to rush. And if you remember, through the assistance of the People's Republic of China, we would have refurbished, we carried out a complete refurbishment of the Garfield Sobers gymnasium at about $19 million. But of course, that was a gift from the People's Republic of China. But we timed that redevelopment of the gymnasium, and we were able to complete those refurbishments in good time for Carifesta. And if you remember, many of the country dance nights were held there.
Yes, that's true. I went.
And pristine environment. So we were creating, we made sure that the money was spent on existing facilities. And in our schools, for example, we hired a company out of the UK to totally outfit all the drapery in the school halls. We expanded the stage at Commermere. We did expansion at Leicester Vaughan. We did work at community college. We felt that we should spend money at these existing facilities that would then be long-lasting and bring long-lasting benefit to the school children who we want to get interested in the creative arts. We place tremendous attention on film and so on, and those areas that can help to grow the Barbados economy. So that's why I'm very defensive of Carifesta 17, but I will continue to scrutinize what has happened to Carifesta 15 because it has been done by a government that was hugely critical, wrongfully so, of Carifesta in 2017. And you would think that with that kind of criticism, you will have an execution of a festival that are in keeping with the financial rules of Barbados. That even before, because I came to the country in 2017 and told the country how much Carifesta will cost, our budget.
you told the budget, yeah.
Yeah, of course. We are yet to be told. In other words, we are being told, look, whatever Carifesta costs, it is really none of your business because we ain't telling one nothing. And they think that's the bottom line of it. I actually saw a very interesting, after I gave a story to Barbados Today, and in which I was saying, but where is the budget? Where is the spend? And then I asked the media, but didn't you go to press conferences with the government and ask them what the budget was? And do you know the response that I got? And it was quoted in Barbados Today. And I want to read it and that was on the 2nd of September when that story was carried. And it says this. It's in the print. It says, when Barbados Today sought details about the costs of the Carifesta Grand Market, the Barbados Tourism Investment Inc. directed inquiries to the local organizing committee and calls to the festival director, who is the chief executive officer of the National Culture Foundation, Carol Roberts, went unanswered. Throughout the planning and staging of the event, neither Roberts nor ministerial officials gave the media any answers to questions about the festival's price tag. End of quote. And that can be seen in the Barbados Today edition of the 2nd of September. Now, when you read that, where journalists whose responsibility is to go to press conferences and question people, and they ask questions and they get no answers. Now, I can tell you that at no press conference I ever held were any questions raised by journalists unanswered. Because when you are a minister of government, you are not managing your own domestic budget. You are managing a national budget where there are rules and regulations, and you are duty bound to answer questions. So rather than say, for example, that people still being paid and it will be, because the Prime Minister said it will be irresponsible to say how much Carifesta costs. And I'm challenging the Prime Minister to reflect on that, because that does not make any sense whatsoever within the context of what are the prudent financial rules that this government have set. That does not make, and it has to be deemed to be unacceptable. You can't do that. And that does not mean that we don't love Carifesta. I would tell you that Carifesta, properly planned and engineered and structured, can be of enormous benefit to the region. And it has been in the past, and I have no doubt that it will be in the future. But when a government, a host country, determines that it will host Carifesta, it is saying to the CARICOM Secretariat that it has the wherewithal, it has budgeted the monies have been approved through the Parliament and so on, and that therefore that's what they would do. But don't forget, this is a race for PR management. If you can manage the cameras, if you can manage because Barbadians who are being invited to free events, most people will go to the free event and then they come and say, Carifesta was really good. So you have the super concerts at which you open up the gates and say, everybody come, you don't got to pay nothing. But behind that, what is the cost? You have major artists who are coming into Barbados and who have to be paid. And I have no doubt that some of those people are within the group that the Prime Minister is saying people are still to be paid. I can tell you this. That's why I'm knocking the shoddy planning and the shoddy execution of Carifesta 15. Because I went to events. I remember going to at least one event and I saw a particular promoter. And the promoter that I saw, right? I remember that the minister herself, when questioned, said that Carifesta 15 started rocky. Those were her words, not mine. At least she admitted that it started rocky. So I don't know how you can boast of all this success when you're saying it started rocky. But I went to an event and I saw a promoter and I inquired of the promoter what they were doing, because I was a bit surprised that a promoter was so much involved in ushering people and directing traffic and so on. So the government hired promoters at short notice along with their entire staff because of the chaos that had ensued in terms of events, and paid those promoters to bring order and structure to chaotic planning. What I can say to you is that those promoters themselves are now lining up. I'm sure they have to be paid top dollar. So I'm waiting with bated breath to hear what the final cost is and the breakdown, because we don't only want to see the final cost. I think the government should be made to tell the Barbadians the breakdown of costs. Now that structure at Waterford, the Grand Market, you had tons of trees that had to be cleared at short notice for that particular development, and you had Chinese, as I understand it, Chinese workers working overtime to rush something that you could somehow, if it looked pretty, it doesn't matter if the foundation is strong or not. And I hope that the steel that has been used in that project are acceptable of acceptable industry standards. But time will tell. People say that the more the monkey climb, the more they show their tail. And time is longer than twine. Unfortunately, in analyzing the performance of this government, you have time, because they have been in office now, I believe, for more than 7 years. And what they said early, because everything was then blamed on the Democratic Labour Party. But time now is now 7 years past, and you no longer can do that. The government now has to come under its own and defend defend what they're doing. So
Yes.
they have to mount a defense in relation to the Carifesta spend. I happen to know that there were serious flaws in the execution and planning, because I've done my homework and asked the right questions of people who were pulled from doing what they were doing. If you have to hire a construction company at short notice to bring their heavy duty equipment at Newton, to put down at short notice a car park with only a few days to go before the first event at Newton, then you're asking that particular provider to charge you prime dollar.
Exactly.
And that's what happened. That's what happened. You have the huge boulders being rolled out. You're not ready. Chaos ensued. And that's what you have. And at the end of the day, you're telling Barbadians, you should be proud that we gave you an artistic center. And we welcome our artistic center. But we don't welcome the shoddy planning and the exhaustive cost. And not only that,
The last minute.
and you're silent about a budget. You have not. I've asked the question of some persons in the artistic community, because I can tell you when we did the refurbishment of the Queen's Park building and the famous Daphne Jurgen Haggett Theatre, we asked the beneficiaries to be a part of telling us what is the best design, how we should do this, how we should do that. We didn't just go and take up money and spend it. It is important that the beneficiaries are involved in the nitty-gritty planning. I asked the question of some people who should know whether they were involved, whether they were consulted in relation to the planning of the structures at Newton and the structure at Waterford. And I would challenge the government to tell me that they were involved, because many people were not involved. You practically woke up one morning and saw structures in the air. And to whether they are designed for the best utility, no, they can't answer that question. So that's the issue that has to be. I mean, if I had to be at a press conference, they probably wouldn't answer those questions either, because you recognize that Barbados today say they went to press conferences, asked the government about what Carifesta will cost, and the government blatantly refused.
But Mr. Lashley, I want to break you to say this. We have two young persons. They're waiting in the.
Sorry.
They're waiting. No, but we started late because we had some technical issues with our first guest. But this is going so good. I allowed you to continue, but they're going to come in another, I would say, 3 minutes. But I want Barbadians to know that I was made to understand, Mr. Lashley, that you were supposed to be going on a brass tacks program on not Sunday gone, the Sunday before, with the CEO of the NCF and the Minister in State in the Ministry of Culture, which is Chantel Monroe Knight and Carol Roberts. And I was made to understand that you were ready to go, but then you were told that they were not, they were sick. Is that so? That's my understanding.
The program is yet to come on. I waited 2 weeks. I'm still waiting.
And so they didn't come on the first week. And then I know that I checked with you. Can you come on? You said, well, I have to do, I'm going to do brass tacks on Sunday. And you were quite excited about doing brass tacks on Sunday.
I was very happy to go on and have the discussion with the other side, but that discussion has not happened.
So in 2 weeks in a row, there was a no-show from allegedly from Carol Roberts and Miss Chantel Monroe Knight. And I mean, the people would like to know, why wouldn't you sit down and have a discussion with Stephen Lashley? Why are you running? Are you running from all of this scrutiny?
And by the way, I hope that maybe in the future it will happen, but I can tell you this: if for example, I was asked a question about sharing my knowledge about the planning of Carifesta, I would have given it freely, because the nature of Carifesta and my involvement as a minister, I feel very strongly about transfer of information between the administrations. In fact, I've said that there ought to be a period between the change of a government where ministers who are no longer going to be in government must mandatorily sit down with those who are coming in and hand over a report. because this is the public funds that are at stake. But what happens in Barbados is that, one government, you have election and people say, we get rid of all, but there's no proper transition of administration where briefs are prepared for your incoming counterpart, and that brief is presented mandatorily. For example, the outgoing prime minister ought to be able to give a mandatory brief to the incoming prime minister. The outgoing minister of culture ought to be able to give a mandatory brief in well structured according to law to the incoming minister. In other words, and that does not happen in Barbados. I wish it would happen. I did say to the Constitutional Review Commission that should be a constitutional provision established by law, that there's and because of lack of proper transitional arrangements, huge amounts of money are wasted. Because one minister comes in, there's no brief. It's almost like you enter a company and you're the CEO and you do not get a brief from the board of directors. You're going to make some blunders. You're going to do some if and buts. And the persons who are going to have to take up that are the taxpayers of Barbados. So this reduction in the debt to GDP ratio that you're talking about is not likely to be moving too fast if you're going to have this ups and downs in terms of just unaccountable spending.
Yes. I mean, this has been really, I didn't know you were going to go this deep, but it's been awesome. Very, very awesome. Let me welcome Theory Gittins and Janine. Janine, I know, is still setting up. They've been there waiting all this time.
I'm sorry to keep you guys waiting. I did not intend to do that.
But it's very, as Janine wrote back and she said, Marcia, this is such good information. And I hope Theory was, learning something from this whole presentation tonight. Welcome, Theory. Good night.
Hi, good night. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we're hearing you clearly. Hearing you clearly, Theory. I know you were sitting down there waiting, and I do value your time. But we are live and had technical problems with our first guest, as I've been talking to you. I've been, talking to you on WhatsApp. So we appreciate you, Theory, and Janine as well. Let me welcome Janine. Welcome, Janine, to the Marcia Weekes Show.
Hi, good night to everyone, and to the all position and to the panelists as well.
Yes. Looking lovely as usual. Good to have you all here tonight, and you are all listening backstage. Although you came on to talk about a different issue, we're going to be talking about the immigration and the free movement of people that's going to happen on October 1st, and the possible impact on young people. And Mr. Lashley will be here with us because he was Minister Youth, Sports and Culture. Did I say that right? Or
Culture, Sports and Youth.
Culture, Sports and Youth, right?
Yes.
So we will have him on as long as he can stay on with us. But before we transition into that topic, I would love to hear from both of you as young people. You sat and you listened tonight. Theory, I could see that you were really listening. Any comments you want to make? A quick comment on what you heard about Carifesta, GDP, and debt to GDP, all of that stuff. What do you have to say?
Good night to the Honorable Minister. Good night, Marcia, and to the people of Barbados. In listening to what the minister said,
Former minister,
but once a minister, always a minister. But anyways, thank you for the correction. For me, I understood what he said pertaining to the aspect of persons or the ministers or the government having to disclose how much they spend. That is very important because at the end of the day, it is the public's money, and we don't want to have a situation whereby certain activities occurred that may not align with the interests of the public. For me, something that I will take home from what you said is that the transition between ministers to ministers, I think that's something that can be or should be implemented in the future, for the future generations. I thought it already occurred, but that's what I grasp in terms of a synopsis of it.
Yes. Thank you so much, Theory. Janine, Ms. Butcher, is there anything that you would have listened to from Mr. Lashley and you thought very interesting point there? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, please, you can hear me.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Go right ahead.
Yes. I like the fact that Mr. Lashley was able to go in depth of more in depth what would have happened with Carifesta at that time in 2017, and be able to also defend his record as well based on what the government was saying at the time when they came into office. And even now, the minister, he like the point that he would have mentioned that the minister would have said at the time, Mr. Johnson, one night that it started rocky, but in the end, it's still saying that, oh, it was so great and stuff like that. Only today would have saw that the minister would have also mentioned that she is already getting calls from persons to come back and set up in Barbados and stuff like that. I'm wondering what is going to happen with the Bajan companies. Some persons are waiting 3 months to get even the small business or to get their businesses registered. But you're asking people for 3 months to come back and start another festival. Like you said, oh Lord, give me 3 months. But like that, Mr. Lashley was able to go into depth to say what he did and how smoothly it went. That he even brought the cost to the country even before, and he was very transparent. Well, they're telling us they are not giving us any information at this time. So I think it was really good on Mr. Lashley's end.
Yes, very, very much so. Well, this I could have sat here and listened to this the whole night. He has to come back because this is an area that matters to me a lot. But Keith Padmore is right on the money right now, because this is where we're going. And Keith Padmore is asking, Mr. Lashley, what are your views regarding the possible impact that an open door policy as opposed to a managed migration? But before, Mr. Lashley, you hold that, and I know you would want me to go to the young people first, right?
Of course,
so
yeah.
we're gonna get their views on this. This open door policy, as this person has called it, which is what it is. So I'm going to go to Theory first. Theory, you're 22 now. I met you when you were 20, I think. 20. 22, time flies. And Theory, you are still at university. You're hearing about this open door policy. You're mixing and mingle with young people from all different Caribbean islands. What are your thoughts about it? Do you think what impact do you think this will have on the country instead of a managed migration? Go right ahead, Theory.
From the perspective of foreign students, I think they will love it because it gives them opportunity to stay in the country longer. They love to be here, potentially have some jobs, maybe in the sectors that they could possibly work. But the thing about it, then guess what? It creates this competition between locals and foreigners. So how can we then manage that? That's the question that I would ask the government. I would suggest understanding what are the critical jobs to locals, what are the jobs. Not saying that we should give persons from other countries lesser jobs. I'm just saying what are the critical jobs to us that we know that we want to safeguard for our people, and then look at those jobs that we can necessarily share the load and get the bounty as well. So that's my perspective on it. Pertaining to how it benefits us as locals, and this is the locals and the Barbadians going outside, I think it's a wonderful idea. I just hoped that the ferry system that they were talking about, the company right now, would have came off, but it didn't. So I just wanted to say that pertaining to the aspects of travel. I hope that at some point we get that achieved. But I believe, if we're speaking about the Caribbean single market economy, this is a part of the transition. But as you said before, it's managing it, making sure that it's done properly. Something that it was popular, it was a trend. A lot of Nigerians, they were making videos telling other Nigerians and other Ghanaians, if you go to Barbados and you have a kid, you basically automatically get a passport. And they were encouraging persons to come to Barbados. They said the Prime Minister of Barbados, and they called her name, Honorable Mia Mottley, she wants you to come to Barbados and help to raise the population, etc. So I literally saw that as a trend all over the place. So the question is then how do we manage that population? How do we manage the competition for jobs? Right? In the digital space, that's not really a problem, but there's certain job sectors that I consider to be critical that persons, and I say persons, I mean Barbadians, depend on. Most persons work in those fields, and y'all can identify those. But for me, you just have to identify what is critical to Barbadians. For example, it's like, I'm an electrician, and that's all I know. Right? That's all I train. But then, if you come and bring 50 other electricians that are from somewhere else, then you place me at a disadvantage, right? So we have to look at that. They believe the government should analyze that, and that's pretty much it.
Yes, yes. Well said. And you're speaking from as being in at UE and being there with the students. And though your friends, they would want to stay in Barbados because a lot of people think that Barbados is great and they want to be here. But then you're thinking, if you stay, my friend, what will happen to me? What kind of jobs am I going to get? You're going to take my job. But let me hear from Janine. Janine, your thoughts?
Yes, well, I agree with some of the things that Thierry would have mentioned. Even listening to the video in regards to the UWI students stating their views, you would have heard some persons who were even from other countries talking about the job security here for even Barbadians. So that was a concern. Even to go back to what Minister Shanta Morrow was saying, you would hear her talking about Trinidadians calling her, Jamaicans calling her. You never heard her once mention what is in it for us as Barbadians. We saw the other day where this young man was trending on social media, a Barbadian. He shows that he has a master's and he's unable to get a job. I know for sure, I'm not going to call the company's name, but there's a company who has gone down to these countries already doing some job fairs to bring persons here to work. They have Barbadians here who are qualified or not qualified and can't get jobs at all. So what is it for us? At the end of the day, I don't think that is a bad thing, but under this government, it could be a bad thing because we can see that or they're saying at one moment that we're not doing a CBA program, but on the other hand, it's coming in very smartly. If persons even come here to live, the election is in 2 years' time, supposed to be constitutionally. Will they be able to vote? Is this about votes? I have a lot of questions when it comes to this.
Yes, 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 yes. Lots of questions, Mr. Lashley. As a former minister of youth, culture, sports, and youth, what are your thoughts on this? What do you think would be the impact on especially young people in this country?
Yeah, I think the impact is not one that can be easily surmised in terms of what it would be. Is like it is possible and likely that there could be a multiplicity of impacts. I believe when the whole concept of the free movement within the free market was actually talked about, it was envisaged that it would be a managed system. That is why we started with sort of certain categories of workers being allowed to move freely across the region. And there were very specific categories, and that was based on, I believe, an analysis in terms of impact. Now, what is missing from the analysis is what further work was done by the government to set the basis for a opening up totally, and whether or not they caucus the views of Barbadians to then determine whether persons were aware of impacts and that kind of thing. So it is almost like and I think most people understand that everybody in the region are our CARICOM neighbors and so on. But in a situation where you only have a partial opening up of the Caribbean, for example, the country, as I understand it, St. Vincent, Belize, there are 4 countries, I believe, that have opened totally. And those that are not involved, Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica, 2 of the largest economies in the region, that to me can easily move in that direction without too much impact because of the vastness of their economies, that they're out of the picture. I am saying that there is missing information. And I believe what is creating concern is that analysis has not been properly explained to Barbadians so that they can understand and be a part of the dialogue. Now, I also feel that before a total opening up of Barbados, that there ought to have been some very visible consultations with Barbadians. And not only that, but the public education is critical. For example, do Barbadians know what is going to be the impact on our public health system? Because, of course, when you are opening up the country, you're saying to persons you will have all the benefits of citizenship. You'll be able to access the education system, send your children to school, live here as though you've lived in your own country. And
Yeah.
don't forget, it is being reciprocated. So Barbadians can go to Belize, they can go to wherever they want to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is where the Minister of Home Affairs got himself in some hot water with the university students, because his disclosure or invitation to young people to go to other countries was, I think, the way in which it was done sent the wrong signal. Because at the end of the day, you have to ask the question whether Barbadian young people want to go to work in Belize. Do they want to go to
Mm.
live and work in St. Vincent? Do they want to do this? And I think that a government that, notwithstanding the overall intentions and commitments to CARICOM, that the government that is elected by people ought to be very sure-footed as to where its citizens stand before big decisions like this are made. And I'm just thinking, I'm wondering, because I'm not getting the feel that that very wide-scale consultation was done. If it was done, then young students at university would not be asking the kind of questions that they ask.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing multiple impacts. I believe in the integration movement of CARICOM, but I believe that what's missing is public education, public consultation, and for persons to get to a point of comfort.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to ask the question, should the government, by consultation and public education, bring Barbadians to a point of comfort before it open up the borders? Now
Yeah.
that seems like feasible to me, because I think if you are accountable to the people, that's what you do.
Yes. Yes. But Janine, I know that because Miss Alashi raised an important point. Do Barbadians want to live in St. Vincent, Belize, or Dominica? I know that people go and they visit, might probably visit family, or do you get the feeling that Barbadians and probably young people your age, millennials in their 20s, 30s, is that a place that you guys, are these any of these places you desire to be, and you believe you can find a lot of work in these areas?
Well, I agree with you in only part in terms of that they want to visit maybe family or to explore. But most young people know, or even going to Panama or New York, you can get a cheaper flight to go to New York. You can get a package to go to Panama right now, and it's much cheaper than to even, unless you have family in those other islands, to go down. Or if people are going for it for crop over, you see some beauty professionals using it for, not crop over, sorry, for their festivals, which really like Spice Mass
Yeah.
or St. Vincent Festival or something like that, to make their money. But majority of the time, you will find that persons want to come to Barbados because of our dollar, or for what Thierry was saying earlier, because of the passport. So majority of the time, we only want to go to visit, or do some cultural exploring, use our TikTok to swim videos and have some fun. Majority of the time, not to go there to work. We would go like to we would see Barbadians migrating to maybe England or America. Some will go to Cayman Islands or stuff like that, but not mainly those countries that you would know called.
Yeah. Theory, I was talking to you know I have to say, well, to one of my sons about Guyana, and he looked at me like, but he's in engineering, and Guyana is into oil, Mr. Lasher. So I thought it'd be something that they would jump at. I think that as much as they young people want, yes, they want the work and they want jobs and so on. There's a part of this that we're missing, Theory, and it's that they're Barbadians, and there are young people who sincerely want to work in Barbados to build up their own country. Do you think that that's a factor, that is something that young people thinking about? Are we, as we sometimes say, all they want is about party and making money and so on? Do you think that there's some conscientious Barbadians, patriotic Barbadian young people say, but I thought I would be able to work and build up my own country?
Yes, but not very much.
Mm,
Um, there are persons who want to stay here, Janine, myself, you know, other persons who necessarily want to build in our country, but the question is how do we survive? Then there are persons who, have that urge to go other places, and the popular places will be America, England, etc. That Shani mentioned. Then there are persons who, this may upset a lot of persons, but they look down the rest of the islands. They may say, I don't want to go there, you know, Guyana or the rest of the Caribbean. It's like, from Barbados, there's some persons are very snobby, that's why other persons from other islands may perceive Bajans to be that way because they are Bajans like that because they may say, I don't want to work there if I'm Barbados or I'm not going there, what's there for me, right? So those are the three aspects. So at the end of the day, it's not just a straightforward answer pertaining to, yes, they're patriots and they're persons who are more expansive, but then there's individuals who are just snobby and don't want to, go to any other place that is not one of the uppity islands or one of the uppity countries,
But you think it's just snobby, or is it? I'll come to Mr. Lashley soon, but let me ask these young people something. You think it's snobby, or is it the for some people they're thinking, well, if they have to come to Barbados, if they need their visa renewed, they have to take a flight to come here. Like for example, Saint Vincent and I think Dominica, they have to come here for it to be renewed. In some instances, they come here to go to the hospital, not the hospital, but for healthcare. Do you think that those might be some of the factors why young people might say, I don't want to go to St. Vincent and I don't want to go to Dominica? Do you think it's those things? Theory, you're shaking your head, no?
Well, I think is usually common Bayesian term brought up. See, if you're in your neighborhood and there are persons who are very xenophobic, they say, well, Guyanese this or Trinidad this, etc. And Saint Vincent is not as rich as Barbados and etc. So you could go on the different common bad terms that they say about the rest of the islands. So there are persons actually saying these things in our neighborhoods, and you grew up hearing these things, and you look down on the rest of the islands, or you look down on the other places, right? And there's actual persons who, believe these things to be true, right? They have their misconceptions of the rest of the Caribbean, and that's just how it is. But that doesn't include, as I said, the patriots who want to stay here or the persons who want to get better opportunities. So for me, it's those three categories. But in terms of health, or because they have to come here to get a hospital care, or because of passport, no, it's based on conversations in neighborhoods. I don't want to mention the kind of things that are said, but that's basically it.
That's what you think it is. How about you, Janine?
Sorry, you can hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
So yeah, I agree with what Thierry is saying. Yes, as young people, we do have those type of conversations. We do hear a lot about, their country and better than ours and stuff like that. As Barbadians, we naturally do have a lot of pride, So and we do defend our country a lot. But as I was saying earlier, we will normally go there for if there's a really good opportunity in those islands like St. Vincent and stuff like that. Yes, we will take the opportunity. But majority of the time, you find that business go to Canada or the other countries that I would have mentioned to get their opportunity, because the reality is they're coming here. We have the stronger dollar, so we are going to go someplace where the dollar is stronger than ours to get money to maybe to build a life back home or just for that opportunity.
Yeah. That's interesting. I saw some statistics. I was hoping to do it tonight, but I'll do it another night. Mr. Lashley, where it's actually saying that Barbadians they will migrate. I think it's at a 3 to 5% of Barbadians who emigrate. And then you have up to 13% of the population here in Barbados. It's migrants, from the different islands. And there's a bar chart, I think, or pie chart with it broken down, but I do that another night because of time, where you see where the people are coming from. What's interesting about that pie chart, or about those statistics, Mr. Lashley, is that I'm not seeing Jamaicans on it. And which I am wondering, as a Jamaican, if there are we accounting for all immigrants in that, it's I think it came from IOM. I will send it to you. But I didn't see any from Jamaica, and Jamaica, I was asking about that, and trying to do some research before the show. I didn't get that, and makes me wonder: do we have, undocumented, immigrants? Do we have records of that? Can we keep that? How are we going to know exactly what the percentage? They're saying 13% of the Barbadian population is immigrants.
Right.
Mr.
I
Lashley.
think because you see what is happening is that I think people have fears where there's lack of information as well, and lack of the not knowing what will happen, and so on. I'm just saying that while I am a regionalist and while I understand the concept of free movement, it is that kind of decision that I would want to walk with the people on. It is not the kind of decision I would want to take just like that. There's a host of information that need to be shared. Our young people, for example, need to know what is the opportunities in other countries, perhaps the same statistics that you're talking about in terms of the movement of persons across the region. Examining that and throwing it out to people so that they can only understand, has this done us well? Is it a threat to us, or what? What is it like to live in Guyana? What is the environment there? What opportunities there are for me to, all these things I think should have been extrapolated. And therefore the kind of dialogue that we are having now ought to have taken place before. It's almost like, again, you're putting the cart before the horse. I am one of those persons who believe, in terms of strengthening our governance, that questions like these are questions that ought to be placed on the ballot when we have general elections, where you have important, because once you have opened up your country, once you have gone in that direction, you are making a decision that really and truly will have a long-lasting impact to persons. So why can't we ask those persons in an election, when you're going to cast your vote, are you in favor of free movement? How do you think it should happen? Should we go totally? Should we go what the government is doing now, partially? These are questions that the government should not fear the answers. If the answers come back and say, no, we don't give you authority to do it, then you have to determine, well, you don't have the authority. But what if people might say, yes, but we want it done in a particular way? And I think we have to look at our governance structures in that way. I think oftentimes governments are fearful of what their public say to them, the answer, because maybe that is somebody's passion. Somebody who is in authority believe that this should be done, and I want to do it while I'm in office. Whether or not the people who put me here want it or not, I am going to wield that big stick. I am going to be the one to lead, because the concept of leadership, oftentimes people get it mixed up, where leadership is that you don't know what is good for you. I know what is best for you, and therefore I'm going to make this decision for you. I think we've gone past that kind of leadership, and I'm believing that what is missing here is a host of information, and what is now setting in is some discomfort in relation to the unknown. That unknown gap need to be filled by proper information. And we haven't done it yet. We're still a few days away from the deadline of opening up, and perhaps the government will go the route that has gone with other initiatives, put a little cessation on it so that people can be educated, and so that they understand what is it that the government proposes to do in their name. I think that's what's missing in this whole scenario, notwithstanding that the free movement has been talked about, but people are still asking questions. They're fearful of what is that. I mean, at least some people that I've heard some comments coming back. I've not heard all.
Yes. I love how you said that the gaps are there, and it's that's it, the gaps, and we have there's something I'm sending to Dave now, in his WhatsApp to put up with, because these are some of the questions that I think that people have, and we have about 6 questions, and I think these, if people could get these answered, it would help us to fill the gap. But I saw Terry was shaking his head when you were talking about putting stuff. Thank you, Dave. Putting stuff on the ballot. like this on the ballot, and I'm going to get him to respond. We've gone way over into our call time, and we have 15 minutes, and I still am going to open the phone for those who want to call in. We might get 2 or 3 calls, but I would still have, fulfill my obligation there. So, Theory, I see you shaking you almost would shake off your head when you heard Mr. Lasher speaking about allowing people to vote on these kinds of things, in terms of, putting it on the ballot. Your thoughts on that?
I am in agreement with the minister. Marcia, I am a strong believer in referendum power. So I believe there's a lot of decisions that should be left up to the people, but I also agree with the minister in terms of the fear, because it's like this: you as a leader, you make decisions thinking that okay, well, it's the best decision. But the beautiful thing about it is that if you can listen to the people, right, and respect the people's decision, then you do what they want. They become what? More infatuated with you. So a lot of governments go the other route, believing that they need to be a parental, overseer, etc., etc. You can go to the different O's and the omnipotent, etc., etc. But the right thing to do is always listen to the people, because when you listen to the people, then the people are gonna love you. They're gonna do whatever you want. But when you don't do that, then you end up in high water. So I agree, with the minister. Most governments across the world are very afraid pertaining to, giving the people the power, right? But when you do it, you see it with trying to call a country right now. Norway started to do it in the early 2000s. That was with Canada Prime Minister right now. Angela Merkel started to do it with education for sure, because I remember she gave a speech. Her speech was towards the minister. He said, "Well, who made you who you are today?" And she said, "Well, the teachers. So therefore, the teachers should be paid the most." So I can give a plethora of examples. So when governments actually listen to people, the people love them and they vote for them over and over again. But when they don't and they want to play that they are the overlords, they lose power. So I agree with the minister.
And if I can say just one quick thing, I mean,
Could you hold it right there, Mr. Lashley? We have a caller on the line. Good night, caller. Good night, caller.
Am I on?
Yes, you're on. Good night, caller. Welcome to the Marcia Weekes Show. Go right ahead.
Pleasant night to you all, Mr. Lashley, you and 2 young persons on the show.
Yes. Can you speak up a little louder? Can you hear him, Janine? Are you hearing? Yes.
I work in agriculture for many years.
Yes.
And have also worked within the construction sector. And what I know for a fact is that for years, they have been saying that people who work in agriculture and people who work in the construction sector were being paid too much. So it was always have been a strategic move to reduce the pay of workers that work within agriculture and the construction sector. So the whole purpose of this is to reduce the earning of local workers, thereby bringing in workers who will receive less money. So if we are forced to go, we will have to work for less money. So the whole idea is about to reducing the wages bill. And this is what this is all about.
Interesting thought there. Very interesting. Thank you so much for your call.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Wow. Go ahead, Mr. Lashley, because
I was going to make the point that, I mean, we had the example of what happened in England when there was a movement of England joining the European Commission. And the British people voted for that, and I believe what happened is that the British government, they felt differently, but they had to go based on what people were saying in England, and in terms of withdrawing from the European community. And that is telling, because while it may be something that a government does not want, the government must still heed to what people are saying. And it's always dangerous to go otherwise, because then you are not acting in accordance with the mandate of the people. I think we need to get behind our people in Barbados a bit more. This decision, as lofty as it is, I mean, for example, we still have countries in CARICOM that have not decided to adopt the Caribbean Court of Justice as their final court of appeal. And that's because the people have determined that we are not doing that yet. Jamaica has not done that. Trinidad has not done that. And I'm saying we are making a big decision here, and we are not sure whether the people are solidly behind this. If the people are not behind it, we need to find out why and fix why they're not solidly behind it. But I fear that you're having a leapfrog approach, and we're not being sure-footed enough as to whether people want this particular decision.
Yeah. Hold a second there. Thank you so much. Hold on there, Theory. Good night. Welcome to the Marcia Weekes Show. Go right ahead, please. Thank you.
Yes, good night. And phenomenal job by the former minister, Lashley. I think the approach that's happening needs to change as it relates to Barbados cannot continue to have a prime minister who knows exactly what she's doing as it relates to putting things in place, and it's almost like how you would do, like how a parent would do something for a child. I mean, children don't usually have much say in what most things that they would really want, except it is, something that's recreational or whatever the case is. What I'm trying to say, the parent normally is the one that does the choosing. The issue is that we should not be continually to assess what the prime minister does or what her elite group does after it is already done. Barbados has to say, do we want a dictatorship, or are we going to sit down and just have a dictatorship or not? Mayor Mottley knows quite well that is not the way a democracy operates. It is not that the idea is bad. It is not that having people coming from X or Y places is bad. You have to look at what Diana went through. And a lot of these situations, but it's alleged, because I'm not there, because what you have to say alleged. The alleged, I would call it beefing up or beefing up of votes and that sort of stuff, due to the influx of people that were allowed to just come in and flood the place. Now, I don't know, but from my words, from my little knowledge, the people and places that Mottley has aligned to flood the place, as it's saying, are her ideological construct, are her ideological political construct. And is. So it's only obvious that when you see these things happening, there has to be a deontological reason or aim. And I would end by saying that usually despotic oversight has political expedience as the ultimate aim. And that ultimate aim is usually surrounded by what? The maintenance of power, or the retention of power. So when you see these things, anything for that matter, that you see despotism passionately about, look at the denominator and examine that the denominator is not based in the retention or the protection of power. That's all I have to say for now. And I think the time has come that we just stop being the afterthought, and people have to sit around a table assessing what was already done. That is exactly what Senator Dr. Crystal Haynes had to do. And she paid, and the ultimate price, the ultimate sacrifice. That's all I have to say.
Yes.
That's the last one, the ultimate sacrifice. Good.
Thank you so much, Carl. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Terry, go ahead. You had your hand up there.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what the Foreign Minister said. Another example is the CARICOM warrant. How long have we been discussing that, right? So when we look at these things, it's very important to understand that we have these conversations, but then is it that the persons in our countries or the people of our country want what the government or governments are offering? Another example is the cybercrime bill. Another example is the wiretapping bill, and we can go on and on about that. So, as I said before, Marcia, I said it on the other show. I've been saying it with the community governance. I've been saying it pertaining to how I believe the presidency should be structured. I don't like how my country is so ingrained in the Westminster system. I believe it's time to change that. And the only way for us to get change is for us to have some sort of referendum when it's necessary. That's just my perspective. I believe the Westminster system is failing and I should really say, has failed black people, and that's my perspective on it. So yeah.
Yes. Janine, any thoughts from what you've heard from the callers, or what any of the panelists have said? We're getting ready to close. Go right ahead, Janine.
Yes, please. So, in regards to what the last caller said, it relate that contribution very much. And in regards to the first caller as well, when they talked about the wages, I think that was a really good intervention there. Are you hiring persons from overseas just because you want to pay them less? You know, minimum wage has not too long gone up. Barbadians are even calling for more at this point in time with the cost of living. I would have not too long today watched a young lady who was practicing law in Trinidad. She's recently gone there. She's saying that she was able to survive in Trinidad on 100 TC. She said that's 30 page, and I know somebody can correct that. And she was able to survive on that for 2 weeks. So she's saying that the cost of living in Barbados is ridiculous as a Bajan. That is a plus for her, but she still is coming back to Barbados to practice her law in regards to, getting better pay here. I think my final comment is just in regards to like how the Prime Minister is on a world tour promoting Barbados, but then the Minister of Home Affairs is telling us to leave here. And then she's saying that Barbadians are great and everything, but then it's only good enough for tourists or for people to come to live here. Up to today, I would have watched a video also on the PMO of Barbados YouTube page where a young boy was talking about climate change and praising the Prime Minister for, security conservation in terms of the water. And I know that would include clean water supply, but still we are here in Barbados versus St. Peter and St. Lucie having brown water. So we have a global prime minister with a problematic Barbados. Things here need to be fixed, but she's on a world tour. And how do we fix that?
Wow, that is serious observation there. And there are people who are in the comment section as we're closing off. The Hurricane is writer is saying, Mr. Lashley, we probably need to be pulling back the October 1st as well, and spend some time with your people, listening to the people, answering the questions. We had a set of 5 questions on the screen, and I think they're pretty valid. ID, people wanted to know, will the Trident ID be extended or special ID for free movement nationals? If they're here living, what kind of ID? I think, Mr. Lashley, that's a fair question that people have. Voting, eligibility rules for non-citizens under free movement. What is going to happen? The fee structures in terms of education, healthcare, property. Will they be able to buy property? Admin, what is all kinds of transparency, national legislation, regulations. All people have, as you said, there's a gap.
Yeah, and I think
yes. Go ahead. As
the government should have also put before the people the projections based on anticipated movements of people across the region. In other words, if you open up to X amount of countries, what is the expectation in terms of the movement of people into Barbados and persons out of Barbados, and then make some models in relation to the impact in terms of education, health, and also speak to questions such as voting rights and so on. I think what will happen is that this notion of citizenship becomes a very open affair, where persons would have the benefits of all that citizens have. And Barbados, of course, needs to understand what are the true implications of this to being a Barbadian. And I think that concept of being a Barbadian changes. It begins to change the minute that you're doing this. But the what is in that need to be exposed. We can't have a secret about the implications of free movement. People have to be told, and questions that are on the screen need to be asked. So I'm in favor of pulling the date back. I believe that it's better to move based on information and education as opposed to moving into the dark when some people are not there yet. That's my view.
Yes, and I think generally people, Barbadians they're friendly and they're open. I know some of what Theory is saying, but again, it's education. And I think that if we can know, I think Mr. Lash, you said something, or could be Janine, do we know what the job market is like in those countries? What are the opportunities, somebody said, or that are there? Why don't we spend some time looking at that and they
Public
looking at us?
education.
Yeah, and I think that is important, and that's why on Saturday, folks, I have to do a plug here for the march. If Dave could put up the march poster, that's why on Saturday we are marching, and one of the things that we're marching is about this bill, because we have not a bill, it's no law, and everything is gone so quickly. That's one of those that came right after Kadooment, and before we knew it, it was gone. It was no law, right? And so Saturday, September 27th, 10 a.m. from Kensington to Independence Square. It's a march that we're having. And yes, we're calling for the integrity in public life legislation. We are calling for that. But we're also, this is one of the issues that we are marching about. We want those 6 questions that we have there answered, and we need to add, we want this thing pulled back. We don't want it October 1st. So this is all, what we're doing here, and inviting people to come out to this and make your voice be known. Okay, folks, come out, make your voice be known. Well, it's been a night well spent. It's 10:02, and I know it's past some people's bedtime. So this is where we close. I want to say thank you to all of our panelists tonight. Quincy Jones, who was with us earlier in the evening. Thanks to you, former Minister Lashley. Thank you, Theory, and thank you, Janine. And I'm afraid to say, can I ask you to give a half a minute, because can I trust you with half a minute to say bye to the people? And one last thought. Let Mr. Lashley half a minute, 30 seconds. Go ahead, Mr. Lashley.
Well, I just believe that the government needs to walk with the people. And I think that if people are not comfortable yet with the free movement, that it should be suspended. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. That's good, prudent management of a country. And we have to focus on public education. I saw a note from Mr. Kudos, Jonathan B., who was saying that, the government should invite persons from Belize and the other countries to come to Barbados and vice versa, talk about the opportunities in their countries, talk about what it means for persons to move, ensure that everybody is on board. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever.
Yes, agreed. And Theory?
Just want to say good night to the people of Barbados. I just want to say thank you for having me. And I just want to say just keep educating yourself, That's pretty much it. I'm very glad that we are having this conversation. I'm glad that this show still exists. A lot of things in Barbados start and then they just dissipate. But we want to just keep on fighting, for what's right. And that's it.
Yes, wonderful. And Janine?
Just want to thank you, Ms. Weekes, and to all the panelists for having me again on this show. This was a really great conversation, and I hope that Barbadians will continue to take things into action. And if you can't make the march on Saturday, why don't you guys start a petition if you really want this pullback? Because the government is becoming the pull-up government, or as Marcia would name it, the haul and pull-up. So we really need to continue to fight for our rights and let our voices be heard.
Yes. Wonderful. Thank you all so very much. Everybody have a good night.
Thank you.
Blessed night. Thank you. And we look forward to seeing you again, Mr. Lashley, Janine, and Theory. God bless. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yes, bye-bye. Yes, wonderful show. Thank you also to Quincy Jones. Dave, you have a song for us before we go out? No, not tonight. Okay. Well, folks, have a good night and see you all on Friday, and then prepare for Saturday. Okay. All right. God bless you.